Welcome back to the Light Skinema podcast. This is episode 33, and this is actually our anniversary episode. So we have something fun in store. We're going to be doing each of our own top 100 films of all time. So Jathan came up with his list. I came up with my list. Of course, that's going to be the bulk and main point of this episode. We'll get into that in a few minutes. But before we get into that, Jathan, the only thing I kind of want to preface beforehand is obviously this is our anniversary episode. I don't know if it's dropping on the exact 1 year date, but it's been a year since we started.
Crazy.
Anything you want to mention about the podcast? Anything, just yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of wild to think about in retrospect that I forget who hit who up, like about the idea of it was me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And just very out there idea that I had. I've never really tried anything like this, and I'm very happy that this little passion project has become almost a weekly habit for us, and it's really boosted my movie watching, and I've been getting everything that I wanted out of it, including just putting more people who maybe not are super tapped into the space as much as we are on the stuff, and it's just been a very fun ride, so I'm very grateful.
Yeah. I mean, I have always wanted to do a podcast. I've been listening to podcasts for a very long time, movie ones for a very long time. But I never thought it would be logistically, realistic to do, because I'm not I can't edit. Like I can't edit video form like this. Obviously Jathan's very skilled and knows how to do that. So he's kind of the backbone of getting these episodes out. But also too, I didn't think that I could do it with anybody that I would want to do it with them, B, trust somebody, and C, some people don't like social media, and don't want to put their face, their opinions, out there weekly. At this point there's hours of content of us, talking about primarily movies, but a little bit of our personal lives too. But I was really happy when you brought up the idea, because something I've been thinking about, but I never thought was actually, realistic and that I would ever do. So I've been having a great time with it. Obviously, movie watching is very important to me, very important to Jathan. But I think just, putting yourself out there is something that I've always struggled with and always been nervous about. Obviously, at the time we started the podcast, I had been doing TikTok for about 8 months at that point. So I was getting a little bit more comfortable, but this I feel like is a whole different thing because, obviously Jathan will edit stuff if we feel like it needs to come out of the episode, but that doesn't really ever happen. But this is more just really, unfiltered thoughts and putting ourselves out there. So I think it's, it was a little scary in the beginning, but at this point it feels second nature to me. I feel like you could probably agree with that as well. And I feel like it's just helped me more in my work life and personal life too, just not being, scared to share my opinions and speak up and present. I have I've mentioned before, my internship is about to end in 2 weeks, so that's really nice, but I have presentations coming up, 2 presentations. So doing this podcast and presenting stuff is becoming second nature to me, so which is nice. But yeah, it's been a really cool year. I think 33 episodes in 52 weeks is really good, considering we don't make a dime from this. This is all just us having passion from it, and obviously there's no backing to this. All of it is us. Obviously, Jathan does most of the creation of it, putting out the actual full episodes on YouTube and Spotify. I try to help as much as I can with the short form stuff because I understand that a little bit better. But yeah, I think we have made massive improvements from episode 1 till now. It's a real big difference, and I hope next year you'll see an even bigger difference. So. Yeah, I don't have much more to say. I'll kick it over to you if you have something else before we roll in, obviously, to the meat of the episode.
Yeah, I mean, I see the numbers on the channel, and as of today, episode 1 is always the top performing episode, and thinking back on it now, it's kind of cringy because I don't know. Not to say that the whole idea of it was weird or anything, but we've definitely made some strides since episode 1, and I used to have that same kind of mentality when I've like first started listening to podcasts, like, oh, I'm gonna start from episode one, and now I'm sitting here like, please don't do that. But yeah,
Hmm.
I'm excited for what we have to bring in, just my filmmaking talent in general, just cultivating it over the next few years and just over the course of this channel. So very happy to be doing this with you.
So obviously, like I mentioned in the beginning, we are doing our top 100 films of all time. We'll get into how we curated this list on the next slide. Jathan will explain his. I'll explain mine in a second. The only thing I kind of want to say first is, so I made this little slide deck. It's very simple. It's nothing crazy. I did have to look at Jathan's list, obviously, to include his films, but I tried not to like wrap my head around like the rankings too much because I want to hear his explanation for stuff. But I have seen his 100 through one. I like I said, I try not to memorize it because I want to be a little surprised. Jathan, before we hit record, he saw some of mine, so Jathan knows my top 10 because my top 10 has been my top 10 on Letterboxd for a long time, and he just saw some of mine. But I think obviously it's going to be a little bit of a bigger surprise for the rankings of him because he hasn't seen a bulk of it yet. But yeah, that's all I got to say now, and then we'll see with this next slide. So kind of the rules and explanation. I'll just first quickly read this and then I'll let you, say your piece. But we're going to explain how we went about making our list and then just some kind of rules for how we're doing this because this is probably going to be a lot of yapping. I'm sure by the end of this, our voices are going to be gone. But from number 100 to a number technically 31, not 30, we're going to keep explanations 1 to 2 minutes of why we like these films and why we put them where we put them. I don't want to have each film be like a 5 minute explanation. This episode will be too long. We have too much to talk about. And then 30 to 1 longer explanation. You can take as much time as you want. I'm not going to be like sitting there timing you, but from 100 to 31, including myself, we're going to kind of keep it, 1 to 2 minutes. We don't want to be here too long. But Jathan, I know this was important to you to kind of preface how you picked your list and kind of your rules for your list. So I'll let you explain how you went about making yours first.
Yeah, so I've seen 972 movies as of today. So obviously, that's a lot to choose from. And this is a very difficult process for me, as I've told Nick over the course of making it. Um, but I just wanted to boil it down to 4 rules about my list.
Hmm.
Number one, no documentaries, no discs, but I feel like what we've talked about on the channel has been primarily narrative feature length movies, and I wanted to keep it to that. So no diss, but we're just more so picking theatrical films that you would see. And rule number 2, I said no film shorter than feature length, so at least hour 10, hour 20 minutes. Um, Number 3, if I'm picking a franchise, I will only choose one film. Um, there's going to be a few on here. I'm not going to go into detail just yet, but I just wanted to diversify my list more so. It's not a diss toward any specific franchise here, but it's just to keep us talking about different films instead of rambling on about Spider-Man 1 through 11. So,
Yeah.
and then my 4th rating, and this is a little out there, but my letterbox ratings are relative, but does not outweigh a ranking. So what I mean by that is that a 4.5 can outweigh a 5 on the list. I try not to be too much of a like stickler when it comes to my ratings when I do log movies on the app, but it's more so yes, like my enjoyment and how I objectively feel about the filmmaking and stuff, but it's also my vibes on the movie. So there are a couple on here that I do have rated as 5 that are lower than a 4.5 on the list. So I just want to preface that. But I didn't want to keep it too strict, just a few rules to keep us grounded and make the list possible. So I like what I got here and can't wait to share.
Yeah, kind of how I went about it is very similar to Jathan. My list is all compiled of from 4 stars and higher. There's a few 4 stars, good amount of 4.5, and mainly 5 stars. I think my top like 1 to 30 is all 5 stars. kind of what Jathan was saying, like a 5 star doesn't automatically outweigh a 4.5 on this list. Because like Jathan said, I didn't want to do like I all the Harry Potter films for me are all 5 stars. I didn't want a tenth of my list just to be Harry Potter films because there's 8 of them. Like I didn't want to include every single one. So you'll see stuff like that. Um, so I agree with that. But my main key of making my list was I've seen over 2,500 films, and I just pretty much wanted to make a list that if I could only pick 100 from the day I made the list and that was it, these are the 100 I would include. Whether it's because I've grown up with them and they've shaped who I am, whether in the last 3 years of me becoming like a cinephile, they've met a big impact on me. Some of the films on this list I've seen close to 100 times. Some of the films on this list I've only seen one time. So it varies. I try to. I was saying to Jathan when I eventually started making my list because Jathan started a little bit before me. I was like, "Fuck!" I'm like, "This is a lot harder than I thought." But then once I started going, I was like, "Just have fun with it and make it." This is not like 100 lists that I'm gonna live and die by. Probably by next week, this list is gonna change. So, oh, also another thing, I tried to not include too many films from the last 3 years, just because I haven't lived with them that long. But there's a caveat to that. You'll see some films in here that came out in 2025 and 2024. So I wasn't 100% faithful to it, but like I'll just say it off the bat, you're not going to see The Odyssey on my list and you're not going to see One Battle. Those films are 5 out of 5 for me. I love them, but they haven't lived in my life for that long. So that's why you'll see some films in here outweighed them in terms of this list, but you know, I pretty much just told Jathan, I want you to make this list how you want it. Do not think of what objectively is the best. Do not think what people will think. Like I said, I have seen Jathan's list, but I try not to like keep it in my mind too much. So hopefully you did that. I think you're happy with yours. I'm certainly happy with my list. So yeah, we just wanted to preface that first. I know that was kind of a yap, but we're gonna jump right in. So is there anything you want to say, Jathan, before we jump right in? Because we're gonna get right to it. We got a lot of talking to do.
This list is subject to change. I don't know
Yeah.
how much, like Nick, he's said that his top 10 will probably never change, but we'll see about that. But
Well, my top 10 has changed in the last month, but my top 10 is like that's the most solidified of my ranking, if that makes any sense. Like that is like that's pretty firm. Everything else you can move around depending on the day, but my top 10 is firm.
but yeah, I would just say this is my list, 1,000 movies in to my career. Kicking off at number 100, I have Avengers Infinity War, and my lifetime watch count for this movie is like well over 40. I know that's ridiculous, but it was such an event film, and it really set the bar high for these action blockbuster movies. And they consume my life, and the lines that they give Thanos in this movie is like I could memorize the entire script just off of his lines and stuff, and it was insane moment, and one of my favorite theatrical experiences of all time. It had to be on this list.
Yep. My number 100 is The Sandlot, and I think honestly, if I didn't rewatch this film a few months ago in theaters, I might have not included it. But it just reminded me so much of my childhood. I watched this all the time. This is one of the early films that made me fall in love with films. And just rewatching it, it ages so well. They filmed this came out in the '90s, but I think it takes place in the '70s, if I'm not wrong, could be '60s. Great film. I still love it to this day. This is one of my lower rated ones. Like this is a 4 out of 5. Still great film, but there are some lower ones towards the end of the list. But moving on.
All right, number 99, I have Clueless, and I'm looking at Letterbox right now. You have this at a 2.5, and I can understand why people feel that way because it's a very cheesy movie if you think about it in like today's standards. But I just think it's so hilarious, and I love the stylization of California and just the entire aesthetic of this movie. Very simple script, but it's one that everyone can enjoy, and it's something that I find myself thinking about a lot. So, Clueless at number 99.
Yep. My number 99 is the Scooby Doo movie. Pretty sure from 2002, the live action. I always loved Scooby Doo growing up. I always watched the animated films. I remember when this, well, not remember when this was coming out. I wasn't born yet, but I remember when, I started to like go to the store and be like, "Mom, can we buy this?" I remember asking her for this. I love this film still to this day. I watch it every October. It's awesome. It's a lot of similar feelings I feel towards The Sandlot. It really shaped who I was. Early film in my life that made me fall in love with movies, so I had to include it in the list.
Number 98, I have Eraserhead, which I just watched the first time this week. And David Lynch is one of my favorite directors. It's just clear how much of an impact this made on the industry when it was made. The opening shot is one of my favorite opening shots in all of film history. And it's very deeply unsettling, but also kind of funny at the same time, which is very representative of his type of filmmaking. And I just think it's so creative. And when I watched this, it honestly felt like a amazing debut. And it's one that when I think of director debuts, this is definitely up on the list. And we have a couple director debuts later, but I just thought this was a modern, not modern day. I just thought this was a masterpiece, and there's no way I could leave it off.
Yep, my number 98 is Men in Black. Like I said, with the other two films, childhood film, I still watch it to this day all the time. I always rewatch it before I go to Universal because they have a Men in Black ride there that I really love. I love Tommy Lee Jones. You'll see another Tommy Lee Jones film later on in this list for me. But Will Smith, I know it's a little controversial today, but he was the first movie star. I remember as like a kid learning his name, understanding that like he's in all these great movies, and I wanted to watch all his movies as a kid. Um, I can't say any longer he's a big inspiration in my life, but his films will always mean a lot to me. In this Men in Black film, it's hard to say which is my favorite Will Smith film, but Men in Black is certainly up there, and it's just I love it.
Number 97, I have Do the Right Thing. And Spike Lee is a director that I haven't completely dipped my toe into, but he just makes a lot of stories about social commentary and looking at the human condition. And this was one of the first movies that I remember watching in my freshman year of college. And it just feels so real to me. And the story is, you know, it's not a traditional like beginning, middle, and end, but it's more of building up to this climax where everything kind of changes, and it's just awesome to see a lot of black actors in this film, and it has some great commentary on race. Um, Despite it being kind of radical with the ending, it's very funny in how it handles it at the very end when it comes to Spike Lee's character, and it's just a delight. I recommend this movie to anyone getting started in studying film.
My number 97 is It, which this was a kind of last minute change I had a few days ago. This is the first true horror film I ever saw, and first one I saw in theaters. 100%. This came out when we were in seventh grade. I was 12 or 13, depending on what time of year this came out, and I've been obsessed. I think the It story and Pennywise is one of the best kind of stories ever. I'm so obsessed with the story. I love the Tim Curry version. I love chapter two. I really love the It Welcome to Derry TV show. But this film means a whole lot to me. It introduced me to horror films, which I was always scared of growing up. Now you'll see in my list, there's a lot of horror films in here. I love the genre, and I love this film. It's really great.
Number 96, I have Jurassic Park, and I think the first one is definitely the best in the franchise. I'm not the biggest dinosaur guy, but if we're talking about ideas just jumping off of the screen, there's little to no better example than Jurassic Park. This movie is responsible for Hollywood blockbusters today, um, adventure, and family. I just love the idea of this film so much, and it means a lot to a lot of people. So, number 96, I have Jurassic Park.
My number 96 is Captain America the Winter Soldier. This is my only MCU film on the list, but it is my number one MCU film. I love this film. I watch it pretty consistently now, still. I try to watch it every year, every 2 years. I'll definitely be watching it before Doomsday. But this was actually one of the first films. when I was about however old I was, maybe 12 years old, 11, 12, where I remember my family went out to dinner and I asked if I could stay home and rent this and watch it for the first time because I actually didn't see it in theaters, but I really loved the first Captain America, and when this was available to rent at home, I watched it by myself in my living room while my family went out to eat. But I really love it. I think it's the best MCU film in my opinion.
95, I have Godzilla minus one, and just talk about devastating. Like, that is the best word to use when describing this film. I just bought my 4K copy of it this week, and it was really a huge surprise when it came out toward the end of 2023. And I remember watching it. I don't recall if we watched it in IMAX, but I just remember just being in awe of Godzilla. Like, he's not a character that I'm super tapped into, having seen all of his movies or anything, but this just, it felt like a rebirth to the character, and it felt like a statement on why he's one of the most retold stories in cinema. So I have Godzilla minus one at 95. I don't know what the sequel, I believe next year, minus zero, will look like,
November.
but wow. So I'll definitely be there, and I can't wait to see how this looks on my TV because it was just amazing to look at.
My number 95 is The Green Ray. This is a film by Eric Romer. It's one of my favorite international films. It's a French film. It's kind of a hopeless romantic story, which I I can say I relate a lot to, and I really love it. I've only seen it once, but I do have it now on physical media. I actually have it in my movie watching schedule for the end of the summer, so looking forward to it a lot. I think this is a film, depending on your how many films you've seen and maybe your level of interest in film, I wouldn't recommend this to everybody. It's a little bit of a slower burn. It's not too long. It's only like an hour 40 minutes, but it can be different. I think 3 years ago, if you told me to watch a French film about lovers, I probably would have been like, no, I'm not watching that. But I really love it, and I can't wait to rewatch it.
94, I have Nightcrawler, and I just had a friend recently watch this, and he was kind of iffy on it, but I love this thing. Jake Gyllenhaal's character in here is like so. There's something icky about him, like under the surface, that like I can't totally describe it, but he reeks of this like slimy guy that you wouldn't want to associate with, and it's really entertaining story. And I think like news journalism stuff isn't really a story that's told often, and just seeing how deep they kind of go with the rabbit hole here was very entertaining to watch.
My number 94, and this was a late edition as well, Dial M for Murder. When I really started to think about this list, I was like, I can't exclude this. It is my favorite Alfred Hitchcock. I think Alfred Hitchcock's obviously one of the best directors of all time. I love single setting films. I think you'll see some more single setting films later on in this list. And I remember the first time I watched this, I just thought, I can't believe how good this film is just for taking place in like one little apartment building, apartment room. It's really interesting. I think you've seen it, Shaitan, and I think it's one of your favorite Hitchcock as well, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, really love it. I have it on physical media, so I've rewatched it a couple times now. Really, really great film.
93, I have a Hitchcock film as well. I have Psycho. And I just learned recently that this story is based off of a true story. And it's very, very suspenseful, which Hitchcock is pioneering of that technique within film. And I was just shocked. It was like very, I didn't really know where it was going to go. And films that were made in this era, it's very easy to pinpoint and be like, this is cheesy. Like, I can kind of read the movie almost, but no, like, I didn't really know where it was headed. My only issue with it is that, and this is kind of common with Hitchcock's films, is that there's a character that kind of explains everything at the very end. Like, I just don't really care for that stuff, but I would absolutely recommend this film to anyone just getting started in the film, or people who have watched hundreds of films and just haven't gotten around to it.
My number 93 is the original King Kong from 1933. I think this is still the best King Kong film we have today, which is sad because it's almost 100 years old, and I still think it surpasses all the other ones. I love kind of the monster movies of the 30s and 40s and 50s. I think they're excellent. Yes, the special effects, the visual effects are dated, but I think it has a kind of cool nature to them almost. I've seen this quite a few times, I think two times now. Really love it. I try to rewatch it every single year. I think I started watching it 2 years ago, so I'm on pace with that. It's excellent. I really enjoy it, and I think obviously everybody knows the story King Kong, but probably most people haven't seen this version of it. I think you should definitely check out the original.
92, I have Jaws, and I just recently watched this for the first time, and I know that's kind of weird to say, but this really surprised me. I definitely, going into it, thought I would be the guy who's like, this isn't that good, but no. It's one of the most fundamentally uh, well built movies. Going in, I really thought like the shark wouldn't be terrifying at all, or that it would look kind of cheesy, but no. The way Spielberg directs those scenes, it's like insanely timeless. It's crazy to think that something so like small scope in hindsight becomes just terrifying. So awesome film, definitely recommend.
My number 92 is Anomalisa, which is one of the first films I actually watched when I downloaded Letterboxd 3 years ago at this point. It's a stop motion animation film. I love stop motion. David Thewlis, who is most notably known for like his roles in Harry Potter, is the voice of the main character. This is another film about just kind of a, a very lonely person in this world filled with people and love, but still just can't connect with people. I don't want to go into it too much. Plus, we're only at 92, and I can already feel my voice going a little bit, so I'm not going to yap too much on it. But I think if you like stop motion, please watch it.
Okay, number 91, I have Blade Runner. And like Nick, like this is one of the first movies that I checked out when I first got Letterboxd. It was just something that had been on my watch list forever. And this is movies that I always heard about that I didn't really know too much about. And one of my favorite aspects of film is just immersing me into this world that doesn't exist in our reality, but also just the director's creative vision. And if we're talking about creativity, then this has got to be up there for Blade Runner. I mean, it's just incredible what they do here with the set design, costumes, special effects, and just one of the best endings in film history. I think that monologue is chef's kiss.
My number 91 is The Empire Strikes Back, which, if we were doing like a top 100 TV shows, Star Wars The Clone Wars would be top 10, which is my favorite Star Wars medium. The Star Wars films, yes, I love them, but I don't go back to them as much as I did as a kid. I do think Empire Strikes Back is the best. That's why it's the only Star Wars on my list. It is 5 out of 5 for me, so this is where you kind of see that the love of certain movies outrank some, because this is 5 out of 5, but it's at 91. It's really great. I'm sure everybody's seen it. I don't need to go into it. Very iconic. I think this film came out in the early 80s, and I think the visual effects and special effects still look awesome to today, so really love it. And actually, we got a little back-to-back Harrison Ford right there too, so that's cool.
Oh, yeah. Number 90, I have The Graduate. And I should honestly rewatch this film because I think a lot of the sentiments would hit the same being a recent college graduate. But just a very interesting film that looks at not the nonchalantness of post grad life, but more so the uncertainty of what comes with it. And it was just a very, very well done movie and amazing script. And I was really interested in the romance, even though it's a little bit out there. I thought the acting was terrific, and it's a film that I would recommend to a ton of people. Just from any corner of their life, I would recommend this to them.
My number 90 is Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Man's Chest. I'm sure everybody has seen this film. I gotta be honest though, when I was a kid, I was not a fan of these movies. I was not into pirates really, and I never watched them as a kid. That's one of my biggest regrets of movie watching when I was younger. So I actually watched this for the first time about 3 years ago. I had seen bits and pieces of it, obviously, just being a Disney kid, but I never sat down and watched the whole thing. That's me being honest. But now I love it. I think it's the best one in the franchise, in my opinion, and I think it's one of the best, summer blockbuster films of all time. It's really awesome. I'm sure everybody's seen it.
89, I have Sound of Metal, and this film is just, it is cutthroat. That's the best way to put it. Just a terrific story, and it was just really hard to watch, but at the same time, like I can't keep my eyes off the screen. And I have ADHD. It's like very hard for me to stay focused, but this movie, I was definitely locked in. I think that in terms of like building up from scene to scene to scene, I think the next one tops the previous scene in almost every aspect of this film. Terrific watch, and I loved exploring this deaf community that doesn't really get spotlight in terms of being a director. You have to come to the table with something new to say, and I definitely thought that Sound of Metal delivered here. So shout out Darius Martyr. I know he is in the Massachusetts community, and just a terrific film.
Yeah, my number 89 is The Lighthouse, another film that I discovered right when I got the Letterbox app. Well, I think I knew it before because I have been a fan of Robert Pattinson, really since Harry Potter. But Good Time was the Robert Pattinson film that made me fall in love with his acting. So, when I downloaded Letterbox, I remember watching this. I actually watched it outside for the first time on my laptop late on a summer night. It was a great experience. Willem Dafoe's amazing. Robert Pattinson's amazing. I've mentioned it a million times on the podcast, but I love actors. I love performances. You're not going to find a better duo pairing of acting performances than The Lighthouse. And we have a full episode on it too, right? Yeah, so go check that out as well.
Number 88, I Blowout, and I'm the John Travolta guy, so pair him up with Brian De Palma. Like, it was just a blast. One of the first Criterion movies that I picked up, and it was just really interesting from front to back. It follows this sound designer who is out recording, and all of a sudden, he finds this mystery that kind of takes up the whole rest of the film, and it was just really entertaining to watch, beautiful, and I need to rewatch this again for sure.
I will say I do want to give myself a little credit. I know you probably knew what this film was before, but I did. This is one of the ones I gave you because I had a feeling you would love this.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
nailed
and
it
you
for
definitely
sure.
did. Yeah. My number 88 is Seconds. This is actually a film I discovered on the Criterion Collection Blu-ray as well. It's by John Frankenheimer. Came out in 1966. I think this is way ahead of its time. It's a psychological thriller. It's kind of about, you know, the existential crisis we all kind of have in our heads. And, a lot of us want all these certain things in life. We sometimes compare our lives to other people. And ultimately, the main character in this, quote unquote, does do a better, he escapes into a better life, but also you see the falling outs of that. I don't want to go into it too much because I'll kind of leave that up for if people want to watch it. It's a great film. I think if you want to get into, older films, I think this one's really great because it has a lot of modern sci-fi elements in it, so it's really easy to kind of just dive into, and I love it.
87, I have Ghost in the Shell, and just again, amazing world, so beautiful. Um, I need to own this on 4K because it was just insane to look at on my laptop. So I only imagine on my TV. Um, Tonally, it's not super in your face with the messaging here, but it's very subtle with the themes of disassociation. And I love the idea of feeling that your body isn't yours in the sense that there's a separation between the mind and the body. Very interesting. And it the same studio produced a film I'm going to talk about later, higher up on the list, and it was just a treat. Absolutely recommend it.
Yeah, my number 87 is Godzilla, second Godzilla film on the list. I would say this is my number one and probably minus, what is it, minus one? Yeah, minus one is probably my second favorite, but I love this. It's the original. Yeah, it's awesome. This is one of, I think this was, no, this was the second Criterion I ever bought a couple summers ago. I've seen this film multiple times now. It's a 5 out of 5 for me. My favorite element of this is all the miniature sets they made. Old school style filmmaking. I'm pretty sure this came out in 1954. So, everything in camera, the miniature sets, I'm a big fan of that. So awesome. Probably most people have never seen this. I know I had watched like the new Godzilla films, like the Universal ones. Go back and watch this, like kind of like King Kong. It's awesome.
86, I have Edward Scissorhands, and Tim Burton is one of those filmmakers that I wouldn't say is my favorite filmmaker, but I definitely respect everything that he brings to the table one of the most committed to their craft. And I love Johnny Depp, so to insert him into this story that's pretty simple but also very heartwarming was just very entertaining to watch. Nick, when I went to the Academy Award Museum, this is one of the films that they displayed heavily. I don't know if they'll still have that, but it was just very entertaining to watch how they put those sets together. So yeah, absolutely recommend.
Did they have the hands on display there? Probably not,
Um,
right?
I want to say they had the suit with like the hands
Mm.
also, but it was more so like the dogs that he has to cut the hair for, as well as like the statues that he makes. So
Hmm. Yep, my number 86 is Charade. I think this film was awesome. It's a kind of spy mystery thriller. I'm a big fan of those. This one came out in the 60s as well. I think the 60s is like, maybe in the argument for the best decade in cinema history. I mean, that's up for debate, obviously, from person to person. I love Audrey Hepburn. She's been an actress that I've always known of actually for a long time. My grandmother had a huge poster of Audrey Hepburn in her house from the film Breakfast to Tiffany's, which I don't love that film, but it's really interesting. So I've always known Audrey Hepburn and Cary Grant, really fun actor. This film is kind of like a American James Bond style film, a little bit with Cary Grant's character. I've seen it at home on the Criterion. Me and Jathan actually have both seen this in theaters at our local independent movie theater as well. It's really awesome. I love coming back to it.
85, I have Saving Private Ryan. Um, the depiction of war here is insane. Like war movies, I think they get judged primarily based off of that because of just how devastating it is. And this movie definitely doesn't pull its punches. I thought Tom Hanks was terrific here. He has a great monologue on one hill in the movie, and I don't really know if how much I'm going to come back to this, but it was definitely terrific, and it's just heartbreaking.
My number 85 is Glenn Ross. This includes, currently my favorite actor of all time, Al Pacino, but the cast of this is crazy. You have Ed Harris, Jack Lemmon, Alec Baldwin. You have, Kevin Spacey, uh, Alan Arkin. There's a lot of great actors in this. This is a stage play that is always on Broadway and stuff. Like recently, who did it? Bill Burr and somebody else recently just did it on Broadway last year. It always comes around like every year, every couple of years. It's awesome. The screenplay is amazing. It's kind of it's a film about sales, but this office is a very toxic masculinity office, and just the events that play out in it is amazing. And you just have great performances, great screenplay, and it's honestly one of my favorite Al Pacino performances. It's probably in my top five, and I only discovered this film a couple years ago, so I highly recommend it.
84, I have When Harry Met Sally, and it's one of the first films that we actually talked about on the channel. And you put me onto this, and I was just captivated. Rob Reiner, one of my favorite filmmakers, like hands down. Just definitely have appreciated his work more over the years, but it's a romance, will they, won't they scenario, and it did leave me in suspense, wondering if they actually would. And I think the question that Harry proposes at the beginning of the film is like one of the best hooks you can get an audience to jump in on your film.
My number 84 is Catch Me If You Can. I think this is awesome. I know, Jathan, you're not as high on this film as I am, which is sad for me, but I understand. I love Tom Hanks, actor, obviously, that I grew up with in my early years, but Leonardo DiCaprio is probably my second favorite actor of all time. I think this is easily in his top five performances. He was, I want to say, in his mid 20s, maybe late 20s when he made this film. And I think this really put him into a. I mean, he was already doing great work before this, but I feel like this really put him into his own stratosphere because he's playing one character, but his character is so layered and does all these different things. And you get to see Leo really stretch his acting ability in this, 2 hour and 40-minute film. I've seen it a couple times now. It's awesome. I love it. And yeah, it's great.
83, I have The Witch, and I love Robert Eggers. Just very creepy movie. It's one of those movies that like you kind of have to let the ball get rolling a little bit, but once you jump in, like it doesn't stop, and it's insane what lengths they go to. Um, just I don't want to spoil, but there's one scene in the film that I just can't look away from no matter what, and it involves a possession, and it's just I'm not the biggest fan of those like exorcism movies. They've never really gravitated towards me, but that scene was just absolutely insane. And to think that he was able to grab that performance out of a like 8, 9 year old kid was just insane to me. Just brilliant film.
My number 83 is Some Like It Hot. I think this film is a comedic masterpiece. Billy Wilder is an awesome filmmaker. There's still a good amount of his films I haven't seen, but like stuff like The Apartment, Sunset Boulevard. I really love those. This is my favorite of his to date. I think Marilyn Monroe is awesome in this. You know, she obviously had a very hard life in Hollywood and what they did to her, which is really unfortunate. But she was a real special talent when she was making films. And Tony Curtis and Jack Lemmon are awesome. I mean, they're just hilarious in this. This film is like I don't really normally laugh out loud when I watch movies. But this is one that I always laugh out loud to. I think it's awesome. And if you haven't seen it, it's an older film that came out in '54, if I'm not mistaken. It's really still very modern, and the filmmaking is spectacular. This film is just beautiful looking.
82, I have the invite, and I really hope this film gets some nods during award season because this is just downright hilarious. I thought the writing was terrific. It had some of the best characterizations that I've seen in a film, just where they completely understand where each character is at mentally. And it was just hilarious. I can't recommend this thing enough. Catch it on streaming when it gets a release, if it does.
Yeah, my number 82. I know I said I'm trying not to do too many films that come out in the last 3 years, but I had to include The Holdovers. I think the only reason why it is a little bit lower is because I only watched this film at Christmas time, but it is absolutely one of my favorite films ever. I saw this in theaters. I've seen it multiple times at home. I think Paul Giamatti. It's really unfortunate. Oppenheimer came out this year, and that Cillian Murphy and him were going against each other for the awards because obviously Cillian, that's something completely different, one of the best performances ever. But Paul Giamatti in this, in any other year of the Oscars, he would have won. He is amazing. I relate to his character so much. Dominic Sessa, this was his first film. He actually a kid from the New England area, and they just auditioned him, picked him up for this film, and it's awesome. And I love it. It's magnificent. And Divine Joy Randolph actually won the Oscar this year for her performance. So this film is filled with great performances. As I always say, I love performances. It is a Christmas film, but you can really watch this film any time of year. It's really heartfelt, really emotional. I love The Holdovers.
Number 81, I have no other choice, and this is my first Park Chan-wook film. Just really surprised me. It's honestly terrific the way that it depicts the working class in a time where it has never been more pinched by just the general society and where the economy is heading. And it's really interesting to see what lengths this guy goes to. Lee Byung Hun, who plays the front man in Squid Game, he was baller in this film. Just what he does here is so entertaining, and I love the scenes where he's just kind of infiltrating his way into these people's spaces that he wants to confront. And it was amazing. I need to rewatch this.
My number 81 is Babylon. I'm going to try to go a little bit quicker with some of mine. This is one of the best films I think made in the last decade. It's really unfortunate it didn't do well at the box office. I still regret that I never went to see it in theaters. Margot Robbie's performance in this film is in my top 10 of the 2020 so far. By far, Brad Pitt is awesome. Diego Calva is awesome. This is my favorite Damien Chazelle film as well. I really love Babylon.
Number 80, I have Fruitvale Station, and just a terrific debut from Ryan Coogler here, as well as Michael B. Jordan, and they're just a terrific duo. Obviously, have had some success later in their careers, but this is a story that is also based on a true story, and it's just a very powerful depiction of kind of what underprivileged black people kind of go through in the Oakland area, and that ending, just wow.
My number 80 is Knives Out from 2019, which you'll see a lot of 2019 films on this list for me. I think it's one of the best years in cinema history, but I love the mystery detective thriller films. This is one that I was really excited for when it was coming out. For whatever reason, I didn't catch it in theaters, but I remember buying the Blu-ray, some months later when that came out, and I was obsessed. There's so many great actors in this. This film introduced me to Ana de Armas, who's one of my favorite actresses working today. Chris Evans is awesome in this. I'm sure most people have seen this film now. It's really really fun. I try to rewatch it every like November season. I feel like it's a good Thanksgiving film.
79, I have a Nora, and a lot of people rag on this film, but I just love the stories that Sean Baker tells. She's not one of the more typical protagonists you would think of, a sex worker that immediately drew me in, and it's funny, it's a mess, but at the same time it's deeply empty. Another film where the ending is just amazing. Mikey Madison just put it all out there for this one.
I want to sidestep a little bit real quickly because I know you just watched The Substance recently. Obviously, her and Demi Moore were going head to head that year for the Oscar and stuff. Who I assume probably Mikey Madison's your favorite out of the two. Who would you have picked that year? Probably Mikey Madison, right?
Mikey Madison for sure. I think the
Mm-hmm.
script probably favors her a little more, but Demi Moore was very good and hilarious in this. I just think that the range of emotion that Mikey was had to display here, just hands down, would beat her out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my number 79 is Uncut Gems. I actually watched this film like right before COVID happened. Like March, like early March, I watched this with my dad, and this was like a very emotional time in my life. So I was really looking at cinema for some help, and I loved it. I think this is Adam Sandler's best performance by far. The Safdie brothers, I think their films are really excellent. The ones that they've done together. And I love that it involves like New York, the jewelry industry, obviously basketball. Kevin Garnett is amazing in this. I know he's just playing himself, but he's awesome in this. I'm sure most people have seen this, but if some reason you haven't, go watch it. It's a really, really good film.
78, I have Stand By Me, another Rob Reiner film, and I think coming of age is definitely my favorite genre. There's a lot to dive in here with River Phoenix's character, but to cut a long story short, you get these four group of boys who decide to go out and explore for this dead body, and it's heartwarming. It's devastating, like just absolutely devastating, and it's one that I will see myself coming back to for years. It's kind of a millennial film, but at the same time, I understand completely. Just terrific.
Yeah, my number 78 is Creed. I went to see this in theaters when it was coming out in 2015. This was my first Michael B. Jordan film I've ever seen, my first Ryan Coogler film. I had seen obviously the Rocky films before that, but this was awesome. Growing up, I boxed and I boxed competitively as well. So I really relate to this film. I really do think that Michael B. Jordan and Sylvester Stallone should have been nominated for Oscars this year. I would have to look at the year to see like who they would have gone against, but both their performances in this are spectacular. Obviously, Michael B. Jordan had been in The Wire and doing movies before this, but I feel like this really put him on the map. And then I think Sylvester Stallone obviously was having a lot of problems with the Rocky franchise. Like in number five and number six, like he just didn't love him. So for him to come back to this, which he almost didn't, but Ryan Coogler convinced him. I think this is kind of his best performance as Rocky. Obviously, he's not boxing in this, but he's just amazing. I watch this film every single year. I have to. I love it.
Number 77, Forrest Gump, and this is a film that everyone has seen, but just so heartwarming and again heartbreaking at the same time. Probably one of my favorite film characters of all time. I actually went down to the set of where they shot him sitting on the park bench down in Savannah, Georgia. So that was a treat. And I just heavily relate to this because it's about someone who, is very talented in whatever he's kind of pursued, but he's just looking for that acceptance and, people who understand and appreciate him. So just love this thing. Everyone does.
My number 77 is Marriage Story. I've talked about this film on the podcast before, so I'll try to keep this quick. I love Scarlett Johansson and Adam Driver. They're some of my favorites. Scarlett Johansson is my favorite actress of all time. This film came out, like I said before, like a month before my parents told us they were going to get separated and divorce. So, this came out kind of at a perfect time, kind of prepared me in a lot of ways. I think it's a really emotional film. It's beautiful. It's on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, go watch it.
76, I have The Karate Kid, which is my father's favorite movie. So I have definitely a lot of memories associated with this. And I've checked out the Cobra Kai TV show after. So I would definitely say I'm a fan. Just a really 80s story, but at the same time, one that a lot of people can relate to. Again, you with Creed and just picking up those sets of gloves and learning how to apply yourself, test yourself, and push yourself to the limit, but also discover new aspects of yourself at the same time. So I just love the story here. It's a perfect script, in my opinion, and I love Daniel's relationship with Mr. Miyagi. It's one of those duos that I immediately think of.
My number 76 is James Bond Octopussy. I love this film. A lot of people that like the James Bond films have this very low. It's very silly. It's not serious. I know a lot of people really like the serious James Bond films, but I do like the silly ones. And I think Roger Moore is really underrated as James Bond. And I think this film is probably the most underrated in the James Bond franchise. I love it. I've seen it multiple times now. I just think it's awesome. And I love the poster. If you're watching this right now, the poster has the woman with the 8 arms, obviously like an octopus. It's awesome. This came out in the 70s. The action is top notch. Like, the action is better than some action films that come out today. So if you like James Bond, check this one out.
75, I have Dune Part 2, and this is a giant movie when it first released, and it still is today. Part 3 is releasing later this year. I can't wait. And just one of the most impressive showings of a modern day action blockbuster. When I watched this in theaters, just blown away almost every second. And it's a really dominative performance from Timothy Chalamet, and it's a really interesting journey that he goes on compared to the first film.
My number 75 is another part 2, Shrek 2. I grew up watching this. But the reason it is so high because I do still rewatch it to this day. I know it's a kid's film, but I think the Shrek franchise is really special to me, and I think this is hilarious. Obviously, it takes place in Hollywood as well. They might not call it Hollywood in Shrek, but it's like, that kind of atmosphere. So there's some filmmaking into this. This is where you get introduced to Puss in Boots, who was my favorite animated character as a kid. I loved him. I thought he was so cool. It's really hilarious. I think if you watch this now as an adult, if you haven't watched it as a kid, there's a lot of adult jokes that, like, as a kid it goes over your head. But I'm like, how did they include that in a kid's film? It's just hilarious. I do try to revisit this one every couple of years. I think it's awesome.
I'm gonna hold my opinions, but 74, I have Beautiful Boy. Just super heartbreaking film. I think this film definitely put Timothy Chalamet on the map. Him and Steve Carell's chemistry here is insane. This is a TikTok movie for sure, but I think it's one for a reason. Just the scenes here are just absolutely devastating. I couldn't imagine putting my shoes into this father who just, for whatever he does to, turn him away from this lifestyle, it's ultimately out of his hands, and it's just horrific.
Number 74, I know Jathan isn't happy about this, but this does not mean I don't like the film. It is Cars. I will say, when I had to kind of wait these films out, this is my 4th favorite Pixar film of all time. The other 3 that I like more are higher in this list. I had to put them higher, but Cars is actually the first film I ever saw in theaters as a kid. I don't remember it, but my dad talks about it. He said he took me to see this. I rewatch this film every single year. Did we do a whole episode on Cars, or did you just talk about it in depth? We did a whole episode?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's amazing. I mean, we don't have to go in depth.
One of my favorite episodes.
Yeah, you'll see it later on in this ranking somewhere else, but I love Cars. It's awesome. For some reason, it kind of gets hate online today, which is just idiotic. Like, this is one of the best kind of what do you want to label it as? Like a
Gen Z
um,
movie for sure. Because
no, I'm not. I'm saying as a theming, like a self discovery, whatever you want to call Lightning's kind of journey in this. I wouldn't say it's like a hero's journey, but it's awesome. I don't need to go in depth about it. It's Cars. It's an amazing film.
73, I have Star Wars: A New Hope, and I picked this Star Wars film in particular because I just think it's the most structurally sound. I haven't seen Empire or Return of the Jedi in multiple years, so I couldn't really pinpoint there, but I wanted to pick this one just because, in terms of filmmaking, there's almost none like it, and just how George Lucas created this world. Obviously, everyone is familiar with by now. And whether your thoughts or opinions have changed on the franchise from the movies that we get today, there's absolutely no denying just how great this film is.
My number 73, sorry, is Dog Day Afternoon, which is a pretty new film to me. I only saw it for the first time a couple of years ago, but it's Al Pacino. I think it's one of his best performances ever. I think he should have won the Oscar this year for this film. But this film came out in the early 70s, and I think it's really progressive for the time. A lot of the theming and honestly just character storylines that happen in this film, it's I think it's really progressive for the 70s. I mean, obviously that was a interesting time in America, but it's really great. Another film, if you like great performances, you're gonna get a whole bunch in this. Sidney Lumet did this film. He's a great filmmaker. I highly recommend Dog Day Afternoon.
72, Django Unchained, one of my favorite Tarantino films. I just think Jamie Foxx is an absolute badass here. I love how they reverse a lot of stereotypes and uh, cliches throughout filmmaking. It's a Western, obviously, paying homage to the original Django film. Just absolute treat. When people think of Leo's performances, the first one that obviously comes to mind is Wolf of Wall Street. But for me, I think Django is definitely number two or three. Candyman is an absolute terror.
Might add, Django, one of the best character theme songs ever. I love that song. Django, I love that. Great. Really great opening, too. Number 72 for me is 10 Things I Hate About You. I don't revisit this film as much as I used to, but in high school, I probably watched this film 10 times in the 4 years of high school. I love Julia Stiles. I always had like a crush on her as a kid, just in some other films, and she's in the Bourne films as well, which my dad used to always watch those, so I would always like sneak into the living room and watch a little bit of them and see her in those. But Heath Ledger as well. I mean, obviously, R.I.P. Gone too soon. One of the best actors ever. Obviously, the Joker is my favorite performance of him, but 10 Things I Hate About You is my second favorite. He is, it's just the contrast of the two guys is awesome. I'm a really big rom-com guy. I love romantic films. You'll see some more on this list, but 10 Things I Hate About You is a really foundational film for me, so I love it.
71, Best Picture, one battle after another, and just insane ride this was to see this in theaters. I've only seen this once since it came out, but it was one of my introductions to Paul Thomas Anderson, and it was just I fell in love with it right from the jump. I knew the trailers. I was in for a ride, and it definitely delivered. We've rambled on this film plenty on the channel before, so you can check out that episode, but love this thing.
My number 71 is TMNT, the animated film from 2007. This was another childhood film that I watched so much, but the reason why it is so high on this list is because I always loved the Ninja Turtles. I liked the live action ones from like the 90s. Those were always really fun. But when this one came out, this was like my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle film. And there's a scene in this, if you've seen it, with Raphael and Leonardo. And they argue, because they've always been the turtles that argue the most, them two, because I would say they're the most headstrong and hard-headed. That film, I mean, that scene depicts me and my brother's relationship to a T. I mean, me and my brother have a lot of love for each other. We would sacrifice our lives for each other, but we're very different people. We fundamentally disagree on pretty much everything, and so does Leonardo and Raphael. So that scene, I mean, it means a whole lot to me because I'm very much like Leonardo in that scene, and my brother's very much like Raphael in that scene. And plus, the kind of the builds of the character too are very similar to us. So this means a whole lot to me. But even besides that scene in the film, I think it's just an awesome Ninja Turtles film, and I rewatch it every couple of years. I really really love it, and I used to have the toys of this particular film as well. So it means a lot to me.
Number 70, I have a French New Wave film called Cleo from 5 to 7, and I just really love, one, the setting in Paris, but also, two, the theming of this movie, the sense of time, and just the film taking place over the span of 2 hours, that being the runtime 1 hour 30 minutes, but it also takes place from literally 5 to 7 p.m. So very entertaining, one of my favorite foreign films, and it really explores some heavy topics that I think are interesting to ponder on.
I'm long overdue for that. I actually have a French New Wave film class coming up in the fall semester, so I hope this is one they recommend. It would be perfect. So I finally watch it.
I'm jealous.
Yeah. Number 70 for me is Kramer vs. Kramer. Another Dustin Hoffman on the list for us. I love this film. This film won a ton of Academy Awards. Dustin Hoffman won, Meryl Streep won, and I think you see a lot of films that show single mothers and kind of the hardships that they go through, which are awesome. But I feel like there's very few single father films out there. Kramer vs. Kramer is one, and I think the progression of I want to say his name is Ted Kramer. Dustin Hoffman's character is awesome in this. It's really emotional. This film, if you can get through this film without crying, kudos to you. But every time I watch it, I'm in full blown tears, like really real tears. I've seen it, I think, 2 times now. I love it, and I think honestly, the more I watch it, the more it's probably going to rise in my all time rankings. It's one of the best films ever. I love it.
Number 69, I have The Departed, Martin Scorsese, Leonardo DiCaprio, Matt Damon. The list goes on. Takes place in Boston. Instant winner.
My number 69, which I've talked about this before, Fences. This is the film where I said to myself when I was about 13 years old, I'm like, okay, that's what real acting is. Those are real actors. Viola Davis won the Oscar for this year. Denzel stars and directs this film. It's based off the August Wilson playwright, which I've read Fences, the playwright, multiple times, like 3 or 4 times. One of the best playwright. It is my favorite playwright of all time. I will say I don't revisit this film as much as I used to, but I've probably seen it, I'm not joking, like 5 to 10 times. It's amazing. I really recommend it. It's filled with great performances, but the story is extremely emotional, and Viola Davis delivers probably, if I could only choose one performance, it's probably Viola Davis in this film, so I love it.
Number 68, I have an Italian neorealism film by the name of Bicycle Thieves, and just a classic. Again, another film that I was shown in college, and it's just very interesting to watch this boy and his father navigate this post-World War II Rome. And I really like the messaging here and just what they kind of have to deal with in terms of day-to-day life after one of the most devastating events in human history. So, absolute recommend.
Yeah, my number 68 is Mamma Mia. I'm not a big musical guy, but for whatever reason, this one works for me. Meryl Streep is in this, obviously, but Amanda Seyfried, she's one of my favorite actresses ever. I love this film. Funny enough, little fun fact, I've only ever watched this film, and I've seen it 3 times. I've only ever watched it when I was on vacation in Cancun. In about 3 weeks, I'm going back there. So, the very first thing I'm watching when I'm there is this film. It's my little tradition there. I don't know why. I've only watched it when I vacation there, but it's amazing. It's really popular. I'm sure most people have seen it. But I love it. It's my white girl film. I just absolutely love it.
Number 67, pause. One of my favorite films, Knives Out. I love this. Really made me discover that I love whodunit movies. Shot in Massachusetts, insanely entertaining. If you haven't, for some reason, seen this, go check it out right now. Turn this video off.
My number 67 is Everybody Wants Some. It is my favorite Richard Linklater film. I've watched it many times, but just in this summer, I've watched it twice now. I've bumped it up to 5 stars actually. It's about a baseball team, but that's like baseball is not even the crux of the movie. It's about all these college guys, and they're 2 weeks before school starts. And I've played on sports teams my whole life, especially my football teams. There's so much competition and games and pranks that you do, like not even while you're practicing, just like when you're hanging out with each other, when you're in the locker room, and that's what happens in this film, and it's just amazing. Yeah, I really recommend it.
Number 66, I have The Royal Tenenbaums, another film I checked out in college. I just love the characterizations here. Wes Anderson really knows how to tell a story visually, and you see that on almost every aspect, from costume design to the houses they live in to what color the walls are painted in the houses. Just terrific. Love it.
Yeah, my number 66 is Pulp Fiction, which I almost left off the list just because I didn't want to have too many of the same directors' filmographies on here. And there's two other Tarantino films that are definitely, there was no way they weren't going to make the top 100, but I did include this here because this was a film that I always pushed off until I got into my freshman year of college, just because I wanted to experience more films before I got to this, because this is obviously probably the most iconic film name ever. Like if you hear Pulp Fiction, everybody has at least heard that title before. And I just actually rewatched it on Friday, and I love it. It's filled with so many great performances. It's a triptych storytelling. There's three different main plots, but they all interconnect. I love it. Obviously, Tarantino did Reservoir Dogs before this, which was very successful, but this put him on the map. And Pulp Fiction, I mean, what can I say about it that hasn't been said? One of the best films ever.
Number 65, I have Get Out, and just masterclass in storytelling. Jordan Peele, one of my favorite directors. He hasn't really pumped out the output that I kind of have expected him to do so since this film, but I love this thing. Daniel Kaluuya is an insanely talented actor and a hilarious ending, and just feels timeless.
My number 65 is For a Few Dollars More, the second film in the kind of Man with No Name trilogy. I've always loved cowboys, mainly from Woody from Toy Story, but I've always loved like cowboys and robbers in that story. It's a very simple film, very simple story, but it's amazing. I've rewatched it twice in the last 6 months. It's amazing. I can't believe just how great it is. Why am I blanking? Clint Eastwood and Lee Van Cleef are awesome in this film. They kind of have like a mentor to the apprentice relationship in this. By the end of the film, it's amazing. Please go watch it.
Number 64, I have 12 Angry Men by Sidney Lumet, another great debut. And I think that for a lot of people that I've met, they've said that they do not care for black and white movies at all. If you watch this and you don't think this is entertaining at any aspect, I just can't trust you with your opinion with anything. It's just crazy how simple of a plot it is, but how impactful it is on day-to-day life, and just one that I can't wait to rewatch, have it on Criterion, just a classic that I've neglected to watch until this year, and it was just amazing.
Yeah, for my number 64, I have Sergio Leone's Il Bono, Il Bruto, Il Cattivo, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly. I have this slightly above For a Few Dollars More, but all the reasons I just said why I love A Few Dollars More is why I love this film. It has one of the most iconic score tracks of all time by Ennio Morricone, who is probably my second or third favorite composer of all time. I've seen this film many, many times at this point. It's amazing. Everybody knows about it. If you haven't seen it, which I feel like most people probably haven't, especially like kids our age or young adults our age, go watch it. It's very long, but it's very good. It's a classic film.
63, I have Shutter Island. This is kind of a film bro pick, but it's just amazing. Scorsese hasn't really attempted a plot like this since Taxi Driver in terms of just pure delusion, but I think it's very original. Leo DiCaprio here is very entertaining, and you kind of are able to put your feet into his shoes in this film. and it's just one of those endings that people are going to debate about until the end of time.
63, I have Rosemary's Baby. Mia Farrow delivers one of my favorite performances of all time, probably in my top 20 performances. This film is really unsettling. It's just really unsettling. Obviously, if you just by the title, it's about Rosemary's Baby. She's pregnant most of the film, but by the end of it, she bursts the baby. And without going into any spoilers, just very awful, horrible things happen to her the entire runtime of this film. I think stylistically, it's one of the best films ever made as well. And another film from the 60s. You're going to see a lot of 60 films on my list because I think, there was a lot of great ones.
Number 62, I have Toy Story 3, and this is one of the films that I remember first coming out, and I was just like, wow, like, that was insane. Like, I was obviously a very young child, but at the time, it still landed a blow to me, and it probably does to a lot of people, you included. That ending, I think, is a perfect trilogy, as Tarantino has put it, and I just love what every character kind of has to do here, especially Woody and his journey. I think it carries off terrifically from Toy Story 2 and the lessons he had to kind of learn from that film.
My number 62 is When Harry Met Sally. Obviously, Jathan mentioned this earlier in his ranking. It is my favorite Rob Reiner, for sure. I would say this is in terms of a true rom com film. I would say this is probably my favorite. This came out in the late 80s. I'm pretty sure it came out in 89. It's still very contemporary to today. It's a quick film too. It's only about 90 minutes. If you haven't seen this, please go watch it. It's beautiful. One of the best ever.
61, I have Good Time, and I think it's my favorite out of this kind of fake trilogy that everyone likes to make of Marty Supreme and Uncut Gems. But Robert Pattinson is just devious here and is very entertaining, and it just doesn't stop once it starts going. So just absolutely crazy.
Yep, number 61 for me is The Wizard of Oz, which I saw bits and pieces of growing up as a kid. My mom and my grandmother always really liked this film, especially my grandmother. I think she, um, I don't, this is probably pretty bad. I don't know what year she was born in. Obviously not in the 30s, but I think growing up, this was a film that, a lot of people, probably her age, really enjoyed. Maybe her parents experienced it when it came out for the first time. But I love The Wizard of Oz. It's timeless. It will never be out of style. Great film.
Number 60, I have Baby Driver, just one of my favorite entertaining films, just action packed. I know a lot of people don't really care for Edgar Wright's style being so high octane, but just so funny as well as captivating. One of my favorite protagonists in film history, Baby. I think he's just so cool and what he does, and I was just very entertained by it.
My number 60 is Spider Man from 2002, the Sam Raimi film. This is my favorite Spider Man film. It's my favorite superhero origin film. I think there's so many things that if this film didn't do a good job, we probably wouldn't have as many comic book movies as we do today. I think this being the first true live action Spider Man film, too, they absolutely stuck the landing. I know some people are indifferent about Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker. He looks a little bit older than we would imagine Peter Parker to look, but I think this film just it is very nostalgic, but at the same time, I think it still holds up amazing to today. And obviously, Willem Dafoe as Green Goblin is one of the best comic book villain performances ever.
Number 59, I have The Polar Express. This movie means so much to me. I have so many memories associated with it. I only wanted to pick one Christmas movie for this list, so it definitely had to be this one. It's just insane to me how realistic it looked at the time. I know a lot of people kind of have things to say about the animation, but just so many memories associated with it, I could not leave it off.
Yeah, my number 59 is John Woo's The Killer. I think this is one of the best action films still to this day. It recently just got re-released in theaters this year, which I was able to go and see it. It recently got re-released on 4K as well for physical media, which I grabbed. I had to. I love it. Jathan, did you end up seeing this one, or did you only see one of the other ones? I know you saw one of them.
I saw one of his other films in theaters. It was just a nightly release.
Yeah. Yeah, The Killer. I love it. One of the best action films ever.
Number 58, I have Fargo, and every rewatch, this film just climbs the rankings. It's so unfunny that it is funny, and it's hilarious. Huge cast here that all put in great performances. I love the setting of Minnesota and how much they really lean into the just hometown vibes that they give off here, and it's very entertaining, very funny. It's something that I rewatch every year.
My number 58 is Terminator 2 Judgment Day, which every rewatch of this is another film that's just going to keep climbing my rankings. I've seen it multiple times now. One of my favorite action scenes of all time is when um, Arnold is on the motorcycle with John Connor and he's swinging the shotgun and reloading it and shooting it. I love that scene, and I'm actually going to see this in theaters in 2 weeks on a re-release, so I can't wait for that.
Number 57, The Social Network. David Fincher, one of my favorite filmmakers. Andrew Garfield, one of my favorite working today. Just an interesting story. I know Mark Zuckerberg hates this film, but it really is one of the defining things of our generation and the last, I guess, in the 2000s, in this millennium.
My number 57 is The Green Knight by David Lowery. This stars Dev Patel, which Dev Patel needs to be in more films. We got to get him in more stuff. This came out in 2021. I remember the trailers coming out for this. I really wanted to see it. Once again, for whatever reason, I don't know why I missed it in theaters, but I've seen it multiple times at home. This is a very fairy tale film, so if you like that kind of storytelling, it's really great. And it's an amazing film about courage. I love films that are themed off that, because that's something my dad always stressed to me as a kid growing up, and something that I still try to always have instilled in me. This film is a perfect metaphor for courage, so please go watch it. Dev Patel, this is my favorite Dev Patel performance as well.
56, I have Scarface, and just one of the defining acting jobs from Al Pacino here. Tony Montana, just one of those characters that everyone has heard of. I've seen this film parodied so many times. Just absolutely hilarious to me, that accent he does.
Yeah, number 56 for me is The Life of Pi, and a lot of things I just said for The Green Knight ring true here. This is another film about courage. I remember when this was coming out when I was a kid. I'm pretty sure this came out in 2012. I didn't see it in theaters, but my family rented it from Redbox back in the day, and we all watched it one night during the summer, and I instantly fell in love with it. I've read the book, which is great as well. I watch this film every summer, and I'm actually going to watch this film the night before my marathon in a couple weeks, just because it's a great motivating film, and I try to rewatch it always at the end of August every year. I love The Life of Pi.
55, I have The Dark Knight, and what hasn't been said about Heath Ledger here. We've talked about this film plenty of times, especially on the Odyssey episode. Just terrific story, visuals, everything.
My number 55 is Good Time. This is the film that made me fall in love with Robert Pattinson. He's my favorite actor, like, working today, that's like in their prime and really making a lot of movies. It's really an emotional film too. I think a lot of people overlook that, the relationship that Robert Pattinson's character has with his brother, played by Benny Safdie. Benny Safdie's another great actor, director too. He's amazing. Obviously, he just played a Megamon in Odyssey, and everybody's going crazy about that character in the film. But I love Good Time. I rewatch it pretty much every year. I like to watch it in like January, February, just in the dead of winter, just cold, miserable. This film is definitely miserable for the main character, played by Robert Pattinson.
54, Interstellar, a lot of people's favorite movie by Christopher Nolan, and I understand why. It is so damn dramatic. Like, it is insane. Heartbreaking.
My number 54 is High and Low by Akira Kurosawa. This is the first Criterion that I ever bought a couple summers ago. This is a detective film. I love detective films. I've mentioned that a million times. I think the remake that Spike Lee did last summer with Denzel, as much as I love Spike Lee and Denzel, I thought that was atrocious. I wish they didn't even touch this film, because this film is perfect. Yeah, I love it. It's just, if you love detective films, you'll love this film, High and Low.
Number 53, Dog Day Afternoon. Al Pacino, great here. Terrific script. It's one of those films that, like, you're kind of given these breadcrumbs to piece together along with the film, and it just gets more interesting as it goes on.
My number 53 is The Wolf of Wall Street, one of my favorite Leo performances. I remember when this film was coming out, and I really wanted to go see it in theaters. I remember the trailers, but I was like, I knew it was going to be R rated and very inappropriate, so I was too scared to ask my dad. But I've seen it multiple times. I don't revisit it as much as I used to, but this was a big film for me. Like in middle school and high school, and it's kind of turned into a film bro movie, but I still think it's excellent. I think it's one of Scorsese's best, one of Leo's best for sure as well.
52, The 400 Blows. This is like one of the most well known foreign films. Just takes a view at the day to day slice of life of this kid who, is kind of a rascal, and it's just very heartbreaking. And you understand that being a child, like when you look back upon it, you kind of realize how disadvantageous it was, and it's just a very interesting film to look at.
My number 52 is The Godfather. Arguably kind of the most popular films when you always hear like dads or parents being like, you gotta watch The Godfather. It's the best film ever made. Well, it really is one of the best. I only saw it for the first time a couple of years ago, honestly, but I love Marlon Brando. I love Al Pacino. Great performances. I've seen it a couple times now. I mean, Francis Ford Coppola. I have a couple more Coppola films you'll see later on in the list as well. I think he's one of the best American filmmakers of all time. And he really took over the 70s. I think Francis Ford Coppola kind of owns the 70s in American cinema.
Number 51, I have Pulp Fiction. And again, Tarantino, just one of those filmmakers who's known for their scripts and dialogue. And it's not my favorite by him, but if you definitely think about impact as well as just kind of what encapsulates him as a filmmaker, it would be this film.
My number 51 is The Invisible Man from 1933. I love the classic Universal monster films. I love Dracula. He's probably like my favorite Universal monster. But in terms of like the pure film, I would say this is my favorite Universal classic monster movie. Really great. I think this is another film where the visual effects, honestly, for the time, 1933, almost 100 years ago, I think the visual effects were really revolutionary for the time, and they still hold up today. Yes, are they as good as the visual effects that you can do now? No, but they still really hold up nearly 100 years later. I think if you want to get into really old cinema, the Universal monster films are a good point to get into, because I think they're really easy to watch. A lot of them are like only 80 minutes long as well, so very easy, very digestible. I love The Invisible Man.
Number 50, I've heard, and this movie just absolutely destroyed me when I first watched this. I don't think I will ever date an AI robot, but
I hope not.
yeah, I'm not that desperate, but I absolutely empathize with Theodore Joaquin Phoenix's character here. I played the song toward the end of the film. It came up on shuffle on my Spotify yesterday, and I damn near bawled my eyes out. It's something that I'm gonna rewatch for years to come.
My number 50 is The Killer. I love, the detective assassin films. Obviously, you saw me talk about like James Bond and The Killer, the other killer, John Woo's The Killer. This is David Fincher's The Killer. This came out a couple of years ago. I got to see it in theaters. Luckily, it was a very limited release, but it's on Netflix. I've seen it multiple times now. David Fincher is probably my second favorite filmmaker of all time. You will see more of his films later on this list. This is 5 out of 5. Perfect for me. It's based off the graphic novel. I know a lot of people didn't like this. I totally understand that, but I really love it. And I think I almost said Mackle. Michael Fassbender is spectacular in this film. It's really underrated. It came out a few years ago. It's on Netflix, so go watch it.
Number 49, I have The Batman, and I'm sure Nick is going to want to talk about this film later, so I'll keep it short. My favorite Batman actor, Robert Pattinson, my favorite Batmobile. I listen to that soundtrack almost every day. Just one of my favorite theatrical experiences, and I don't think Gotham has ever looked that villainous or haunting.
My number 49, which Jathan might not be too happy about, but it's perfect film for me.
Made the list.
Yeah, it's 5 out of 5 for me. I haven't seen it in a couple years, but I used to watch it all the time in high school. Is Good Will Hunting. Being from Massachusetts, living close to Boston, this film's a staple to watch from the area. Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, they were really young when they wrote the script. If you heard like the stories about it, they shopped it around to a lot of different studios, a lot of different directors, and so many different directors and studios wanted to change stuff up, but they were offering a lot of money. And Matt Damon and Ben Affleck like stayed firm on their script. They weren't changing anything. They weren't mixing stuff up, and it paid off. They won the best original screenplay that year at the Academy Awards. And obviously their careers have been you know forever changed since that moment. I love Good Will Hunting. Just because it's at 49 doesn't mean I don't love it. It's perfect. So
48, I have Shawshank Redemption, and at one point in time, this is probably a top three film for me. Just perfect script. Love the message of pursuing freedom at all costs. I think it's a virtue that everyone takes for granted, and I love the prison setting here. I'm looking at Letterboxd right now as a 4.6 average. Is it the best thing I've ever seen? Probably not, but it just has all the marks you look for in an emotional story.
my number 48 is Goodfellas, which very early informative film for me. My first Scorsese film I ever watched, freshman year of high school. I got this like in a 2-pack with The Departed. For whatever reason, I decided to watch this one first. I think maybe because Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci, I really wanted to see them, but this film is amazing. I don't revisit it as much as I should. I definitely need to watch it a lot more, but I used to watch it a ton in high school. It's one of the first films I ever bought with my own money too, physical media. So I love Goodfellas. It will always have a very special place in my heart.
47, I have The Wolf of Wall Street. What hasn't been said about this movie? It's hilarious. It's batshit insane. Must watch. Absolutely.
Yeah, my number 47 is There Will Be Blood. We just did a full episode breakdown of this, so save my full thoughts. Obviously, go watch that episode. But really important film for me. It is my favorite PTA. Daniel Day Lewis, arguably the best performance ever. Everybody talks about this. I'm not gonna say much more. We just talked about it for over an hour and a half. But yep, my number 47.
46, I have Raising Arizona, and on rewatch, I wonder if it will go down or not, but I think it is hilarious. It has a lot of the same strengths as Fargo in that it's hilarious, but at the same time, very heartwarming. Um, I love the ending here. I know a lot of people kind of get taken out by it a little bit, but I just think it's hilarious. Nicolas Cage isn't one of those actors that I immediately think of and I'm like, oh yeah, that's my favorite, but he was really good here. Just Coen Brothers masterpiece.
My number 46, very much like Pirates of the Caribbean, Jurassic Park. I did not watch as a kid. I did not like dinosaurs as a kid. I thought they were dumb. I thought they were stupid. I thought these movies were stupid. Boy, was I wrong. I really regret that. I think Jurassic Park is one of the best films ever made, still to this day. The practicality, the world building that Steven Spielberg did here is phenomenal. I've watched this film like 5 times in the last 2 years. It's one of my favorite ever. I always rewatch it before I go to Universal as well because I love the Jurassic Park rides they have there. So yeah, I love this film.
45, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I just think it's terrific. Quentin Tarantino at his near best. I think choosing to tell a story about the golden age of Hollywood is just terrific. It's one of his films that I could easily see being explored into a larger universe, which it's getting pretty soon with David Fincher, The Adventures of Cliff Booth. Just awesome.
My number 45 is the original Planet of the Apes. For a long time, I had my favorite as like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes or Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, but this is my number one. I think it's top three sci-fi film ever made. Another film from the 60s. I keep mentioning it. I think it's one of the best films ever made. The ending of this film is one of the most heartbreaking, emotional, unexpected things when I first watched it. I recently watched this in theaters, which was an awesome experience. Um, if you haven't watched this, please go watch it. It's really practical. It's really fantastic. I think this is one of the best sci-fi films ever.
Number 44, I have Charade, and I remember watching this in school, but also going to see it with you the day after Christmas. And I just thought that was an excellent slot to watch it. I love these types of movies. I could watch a million of them. I think Audrey Hepburn is hilarious in this. I think she's an actor that I kind of owe myself to go through their filmography more. Cary Grant, just one of those powerhouses in Hollywood at the time. Just absolute blast.
Number 44 is Furiosa, Mad Max Saga. I will never forgive. I'm speaking to like the general audience that let this movie fail at the box office, because we might not be getting another Mad Max film because of that. This film really bombed, but it is. I think it is so perfect. It's one of my favorite action films of all time. Anya Taylor Joy is exceptional in this film. I think Charlize Theron was a great Furiosa. Anya Taylor Joy is the best Furiosa. She was amazing. Chris Hemsworth, I think, is a really talented actor. He just hasn't had the roles that get to showcase his abilities. Him as Dementus in this showcases those abilities. He is so complex, so fleshed out in this. So many great monologues he has in this. I'm actually probably going to watch this film tonight, rewatching it. I saw it 3 times in IMAX. I've seen it a bunch at home. I've seen the black and chrome edition. I love Furiosa. It's phenomenal. I wish this film did better at the box office, because like I said, we might not be getting another Mad Max film.
43, I have Lahaine, and this is one of the films that I watched toward the end of my college career, and it's just something that is going to kind of be in talks forever due to its social commentary, and it forever changed the phrase of so far so good to me. Just really interesting. I have to rewatch this. It's shot in black and white, but I want to say that this was shot like on set black and white, not done in post production. So it was a message that the filmmaker kind of wanted to deliver at the time, and it definitely pays off here. Just visually captivating, even though you strip down something as crucial as color down to two colors. Just awesome.
My number 43 is Nosferatu from 2024. It is my favorite Robert Eggers film. I'm definitely an egghead, very excited for his new film coming out, but I love vampires. I think they're so interesting. The story of Dracula slash Count Orlok is amazing. You're going to see many more vampire films on this list coming up, but this film was phenomenal. I saw it on Christmas Eve night, rolling into like midnight on Christmas Day when it came out. All the promo for this I loved. I loved how they didn't show Bill Skarsgård's full face, and then obviously in the film you see him with the big mustache, the Transylvanian accent. Robert Eggers is one of my favorite directors of all time. Nosferatu, I think, is his magnum opus, best film yet. I'm really excited for his next one, but I love Nosferatu. Bill Skarsgård, man, between this and Pennywise, he's my favorite kind of like monster actor ever. He's phenomenal.
42, I have Paris, Texas, and this is again another film just with a terrific screenplay. Um, that first opening shot slash sequence, it's like all you need to know about this film. It's terrific. Really heartbreaking story, but at the same time, very heartwarming.
My number 42 is my first Wes Anderson on the list is Isle of Dogs. I've already mentioned I love stop motion animation. It's one of my favorite filmmaking mediums. I've always been a dog person. Growing up, I've always loved dogs. And I really want to rewatch. I've rewatched this multiple times at this point, but I really want to rewatch it. But I'm a little scared to. It's a little emotional for me because uh, a little over 8 months ago, I had to put down my dog, which he was old. It was time, but it was very sad, and I just think when I go back and rewatch this, it's gonna make it very much more emotional. So Isle of Dogs, which is kind of like I Love Dogs, great film from Wes Anderson. For some reason, if you haven't seen this, go watch it.
Number 41, Fight Club. Just, again, another film bro pick, but at the same time, I completely understand it. I think the messaging here is very important, and it's kind of a shocker to me that it was a cult classic because when I think about it and just the kind of message it wanted to portray here is just amazing with I'm sure there's so many people out there who deal with frustration and just pent up aggression, and whether it's something that goes on physically, day to day life, or mentally, whatever it is, spiritually. A fight club is definitely one way to do it. I wouldn't brag about this, but I definitely have participated in some form of a fight club, and I would just say that it's an interesting experiment.
My number 41 is The Lion King. Film I always grew up watching constantly. It's a family favorite film for my family. I love The Lion King. I think it's a great story. I love Simba. Really relate to his character. I still rewatch it to this day. It's 5 out of 5, perfect for me. The score is amazing. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty Hans Zimmer did the score. I think, which he is obviously one of the best. Yeah,
Number 40, There Will Be Blood. We did an episode on this. Just absolute shocker how much I ended up liking this. Yeah, masterpiece.
Yep. My number 40 is 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I only saw for the first time a few years ago, but I've seen it maybe 3 or 4 times now. I saw it in IMAX. No, I saw it on 70 millimeter at my local independent movie theater, which was a phenomenal experience. The monolith scene where the astronauts land on the moon and they find the monolith, and that ear piercing noise it makes, that in the theaters literally made me sick. Like I almost like threw up. That's how loud it was and how like unsettling it was. Stanley Kubrick, one of the best directors ever. 2001. Um, Another film from the 60s. Keep saying it, but I love the 60s. I think 2001 is. It's hard to say if it's my favorite space film of all time. There's another one on this list that's kind of up for debate for me, but it's amazing.
Number 39, I have Vertigo. Just one of those films that when I first started pursuing my degree just blew me away. Just masterclass in screenwriting, and just my favorite Hitchcock. One of the most shocking endings that I've seen, and insanely disorienting. I could write a poem about how much I love this thing. Just absolute treat.
My number 39 is Taxi Driver. This is my favorite Scorsese film. It is my favorite Robert De Niro performance. Jodie Foster is amazing in this. Really, just strong performance from a child actor at the time. I can't really wrap my head around how she did that. It's really intense what her character has to go through in this film. Harvey Keitel is one of my favorite. He's really funny, but he's a really bad guy in this. I think it's probably one of the best New York films, if not the best. It just feels so classic and kind of I don't know. Like obviously, it's influenced so much. It influenced the Joker heavily. That's kind of the Joker's biggest, I guess, negative to it. But I love Taxi Driver.
38, I have Thief. I made a art project dedicated to the poster of this movie, so that should explain how I feel about it. I didn't really know where to put it in this ranking, but it's something that I think about all the time, and Michael Mann is just one of those directors that, and I doubt the kids still say this today, but just has that aura and exudes a different atmosphere within his movies. I love how all of them are shot. The stories are told. James Caan, a very underrated actor in my opinion. Just I'm dying to watch this again.
My number 38 is The Royal Tenenbaums. Obviously, Jathan mentioned this a little bit earlier in his rankings. It is my second out of 3 Wes Anderson films on this list. I think it's one of the best family stories ever. I mean, the complexities of this family is difficult, and it's a really interesting film that showcases how we all handle grief and tragedy in different ways. Each character has gone through a lot of traumatic events in their lives, but they each handle it in a very different way, and they showcase that beautifully. Kind of like what Jathan was saying, the home in this is awesome. All the different wallpapers, the colors, really great soundtrack in this as well. It's probably my favorite Gene Hackman performance. It's amazing all around. I think this is really where Wes Anderson found his total footing, because he did films before this like Bottle Rocket and I think like the Life Aquatic and stuff like that, which I like those films, but I feel like this one was really solidified them.
Number 37, I have Heat, another one that we've done an episode on. So I'll just give you four words: Al Pacino, Robert De Niro. I guess that's five, but you get the gist.
It's like Charles Barkley, Steve Nash, and Chris Paul must see. 37. 37, I have Get Out. Really impactful, important film for me. Like I said, up until this point, I hadn't really seen a lot of horror films. This one obviously was going crazy when it came out in 2017, I believe. Or 2018, maybe 27. I don't know. But it was really important, really impactful. I think Jordan Peele is a magnificent filmmaker. Kind of like what Jathan was saying. I wish he had a higher output, but I will say I will wait years for his films because all three of his films I think are excellent. So as long as he continues on that trajectory, I'll wait every kind of 4 to 5 years. I don't care. But Get Out is my favorite from him. It's a modern day masterpiece, one of the best films ever.
Number 36, I have Barry Lyndon. Just recently rewatched it. I think Stanley Kubrick is hands down one of the best filmmakers of all time. I just love how it's a 3 hour saga, but it has the definition of a beginning, a middle, and an end. I think that's one of the hardest things to achieve with a script, and there's so much that went through the production of this film, and it pays off tremendously. Love the messaging here. There's just so much to pull from real life in the sense of the peaks and valleys that you'll go through, and it's just terrific. One of the more underlooked Kubrick films, but I think it's one of his best.
My number 36 is Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. I think this film kind of self-conscious or subconsciously made me want to solo travel because as a kid, obviously what happens to Kevin, obviously he goes on the wrong plane, which is not what he wanted, but he ends up going on this great adventure running around through New York, which always really I thought was fun, and I always really aspired to do that kind of when I was a kid, even though it's kind of a horrible situation. But Macaulay Culkin, I think in terms of like child actors that I only watched like their child films when I was a child, but he was like absolutely one of my favorite. I thought he was so funny. These Home Alone films, even though they are Christmas films, I would watch them year round, constantly. I do prefer the second one a little bit more than the first one. I still think the first one's amazing, but Home Alone 2, wow. It's one of the best New York films as well.
Number 35, I've Lost Highway. With David Lynch, I think he's a terrific writer, first of all, but I love the lengths he goes to not explain his films. And if we're talking levels of like complexity, I would say level one is like Tarantino, level two is like Christopher Nolan, and level three is definitely David Lynch in terms of understanding his films, but it's not like a detriment, if that makes sense. It makes it so much more entertaining for me.
My number 35 is Halloween from John Carpenter. I think in terms of like some of the most iconic character theme songs, I think the Michael Myers Halloween theme is like easily one of the most iconic. John Carpenter also composed this film as well, so that theme song of Halloween, he made that as long as directing and writing this. Obviously, Halloween is a long running franchise. A lot of them suck. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. A lot of them are garbage. But this first one from the 70s is so iconic. Obviously, this put Jamie Lee Curtis on the map. I just wish I watched this film earlier as a kid because it's not that scary. I always thought as a kid it was super scary. But I love Halloween season. I love the fall season. I'm an October birthday, so I always have been fascinated with Halloween in the October season. This is a film when October rolls around. I normally watch it October 1st and then I watch it October 31st. I always end and start the month with it. I love Halloween. I mean, I could go on and on about this film. I'm not gonna. We're only at number 37. We got a lot of films left, but if you haven't seen it, it's so iconic.
Number 34, Cure. I just think it's one of the most original films I've ever seen. Incredibly disorienting. We did an episode on this. Go check it out for sure.
My number 34 is Prisoners. This is another film. I actually watched the day after I watched Pulp Fiction, freshman year of college, that really, really impacted me and blew me away. This was my second Denis film. The first one I ever saw was Dune Part One. But Prisoners, man, I like I said, I love detective films, and this is a great detective film. Jake Gyllenhaal is awesome in this, but this is my favorite Hugh Jackman performance. I know a lot of people go to Logan, which I think he's awesome in Logan. Logan's great, but I love just what Hugh Jackman's character Keller goes through in this film, and just the emotionality. It's spectacular, absolutely spectacular. This is a pretty popular film nowadays, so I'm sure most people have seen it. But if some reason you haven't, go watch Prisoners. It's amazing.
Number 33, La Dolce Vita, directed by Federico Fellini, a director that I sorely want to dive more into his filmography. Um, just insane how this was written. I think it was such a gargantuan task for him to try and tackle, and I think he pulled it off brilliantly. Italy is someplace that I have never been to, but I could walk around forever. And it's just a story about lonely but successful people who have to kind of face the emptiness of this life that they've created. And I think it's something that everyone should check out.
My number 33 is Transformers from 2007. I can make the argument that if this film never came out and I never watched it as a kid, I probably wouldn't even be a fan of movies today. It's so important to me. I recently just actually rewatched it with my dad and my brother this summer, outside at my dad's little patio section he has at his house. That's really awesome. But we used to watch this all the time growing up, and it was nice to rewatch it with them. I mean, I rewatch it multiple times a year, but it was the first time the three of us had rewatched it in probably over 10 years. So it was really cool. I think is in terms of action blockbusters, um, it's one of the best ever made. Michael Bay, I know he has a lot of misses in his filmography, but I think it's undeniable what he did with these Transformers films, making them from the little Saturday morning cartoons into these huge CGI blockbuster, 100 to $200 million movies. He really changed the game up with these Transformer films.
32, I have Mad Max Fury Road. Just wow, like adrenaline in a movie is the best way that I can think of this. Just that entire opening sequence is I can't comprehend it even now. I love this thing. It was an absolute shame I didn't catch this when it first came out.
Yep, my number 32 is American Gangster by Ridley Scott. Is my favorite Ridley Scott film. And what just popped up in my mind a couple episodes ago, we did our favorite kind of duos in films ever, and I didn't include Denzel and Russell Crowe in this, which they're not really a duo. They're opposing each other, but their characters are at each other's throats, kind of the whole film. But they don't actually share a scene to the end of the movie, and I think it's just so great. The soundtrack was made and composed by Jay-Z, so it's really amazing. You have great performances sprinkled throughout this. Josh Brolin's in this, are really kind of putting him on the map. In a sense, was American Gangster. It's awesome. I rewatched this film pretty much every year on my birthday or around my birthday. I love American Gangster, and this is one of my dad's favorite films of all time growing up too. So I remember like kind of watching it with him when I was younger, but not really paying attention.
Number 31, Double Indemnity. Billy Wilder, just another one of those scripts that I think is perfect. I was just really captivated by this like cat and mouse game that they play with each other, and it was insanely entertaining.
My number 31 is Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair, obviously, because it is really just one movie, but yeah, I mean, what can I say about Kill Bill that hasn't been said? The Whole Bloody Affair that got re-released in December this past year was awesome. Seeing that in theaters, me and Jathan both saw it in theaters, but not together. He was still in San Diego, but awesome. I love Uma Thurman. I kind of chalk this movie up as like my birth movie because I think this came out literally 3 days before I was born, so I kind of claim it as that. I have a poster of it in my room. It's my second favorite Tarantino film. Yeah, I mean, it's just one of the best ever. It's undeniable. I think, especially after this December. A lot of people seeing it in theaters. In this whole bloody affair, uh, whatever you edit of the film, it's just amazing.
Number 30, The Odyssey. I plan on seeing this for a fourth time in theaters. It's the most I've ever gone to go see a movie. Christopher Nolan does not pay me to promote this movie, but if he did, he would be getting his money's worth.
Yeah, it's great. Number 30 for me is Secrets and Lies by Mike Lee. This is a very new film kind of in my life. I only watched it for the first time a few months ago. But I think it is the film that probably has made me cry the hardest. I watched this at my house in my basement. I have it on Criterion. There's two scenes in particular. I won't get into it because I don't want to reveal anything. That I literally paused the movie and I had to stand up and just like kind of gather myself again. I was like, just holy fuck! Like this is Mike Lee is really notorious for making films that are very realistic. Like they feel like real people. I've never felt what I felt like when I watched this, and this is a film like I've only seen one time, but it's already at number 30. So I think upon a rewatch, this will probably crack the top 20. I plan on rewatching it soon. It's just a film I know when I watch it, I'm gonna be my shirt's gonna be soaked because it's gonna be tears coming down my face. I literally had to pause the movie and stop watching for like 5 minutes because it was that emotional.
On a lighter note, number 29, I have Fantastic Mr. Fox. And this movie is so silly, and I just think it's like one of those films that you could genuinely put on for anyone. And like, if they don't at least crack a smile, then like they need to be locked up in a detention ward somewhere. Just a funny, very funny movie, and it's a cast that is star-studded, and it's stop motion. Once I saw this, I genuinely couldn't believe Wes Anderson would ever want to do a live action movie again.
My number 29 is Lost Highway, which has extremely risen in my rankings over the years. When I first watched it, I certainly liked it, but so much of the movie just like completely went over my head because this is like a very, like Jathan was saying, the levels that are embedded into this film are just so much is going on. Funny enough, I actually rewatched this last night for I believe my fifth or sixth time. It's amazing. Patricia Arquette delivers one of my favorite performances ever. I think what she has to do in this film is very brave because it's a very revealing role. It's a very like yeah, her character just goes through a lot. But I to me this is David Lynch's best by far. I mean I like a lot of his films, but this is like the standout best for me. I try to rewatch it every couple of months honestly because it's this will be a film that lives with me for as long as I live. I love Lost Highway.
28 Sinners. Talked about this movie to death, but just insanely captivating to me. The kind of story Ryan Coogler is telling here, the setting, the characters, everything. Go watch it.
Number 28 for me is Memories of Murder by Bong Joon-ho, which I know a lot of people, when it comes to him, their favorite is Parasite, which is totally fair. Parasite is one of the best films ever made, one of the only foreign films to ever win Best Picture as well. But Memories of Murder is right up my alley. It's a detective film. And for as dark as the film is, it's very dark, very haunting. There's a lot of murders that are happening that, you know, they don't really know where it's coming from. But this film is very funny. I love when the two detectives you can see in this poster, they constantly like drop kick their suspects. It's just hilarious. Bong Joon-ho definitely knows how to juggle dark comedy with very extreme themes that happen in this. This came out in 2003, so I kind of, like I said, kind of with Kill Bill, like, I kind of chalk it up as like my birth year movie as well. Uh, I don't revisit this as much as I should, but I love it. And I think, once again, when I do revisit it, this will probably jump in my rankings even more. It is my number one Bong Joon-ho film.
Number 27, I have Challengers, and it completely changed the way I look at sports movies. Zendaya just has so much gravity in this film. It's insane to me. That soundtrack is beautiful. We've talked about this film a lot, but it's someone that I need a physical copy for, and it's endlessly rewatchable in my opinion.
Yeah, my number 27 is Dune Part 1, which I did not include Dune Part 2 on my list. Kind of like what Jathan was saying, I just didn't want to have two films in the same franchise. And I do slightly prefer Dune Part 1, and there's some reasons behind that. This was the first film I saw in IMAX in a decade nearly, when it came out in 2021. I watched this movie October 26th at like 10 p.m. And by the time I walked out of it, it was October 27th, which was senior year of high school on my 18th birthday. I knew nothing about the Dune franchise going into this. The only thing I knew about this film is the trailers and who was in it, which the cast, obviously, as you can see in this poster, is extensive. And I was really looking forward to this. This was, I believe, my second Timmy film. I think the first one I ever watched was Beautiful Boy, which Jathan mentioned earlier. But after this, I was a full Timmy fan. I love the coming of age story that Timmy's character goes through in this. I think Javier Bardem is excellent. There's not a lot of Zendaya. You only really get her at the end, but I love her in this. Josh Brolin. Why am I blanking on his name? Oscar Isaac. I love Oscar Isaac. He's awesome in this. Dune Part 2 is magnificent. I love Dune Part 2, but like I said, I slightly have the first one ahead.
26, I have Parasite, and thinking on it now, I think that this film has like, I think people really do forget how good this movie is. Like, I think when people look back on the last 10 years of film, Parasite is going to be top three at least on that list. Just, I think it's a perfect screenplay. Social commentary is amazing. They're literally living below the higher class. Like, I can't ask for much more.
At my number 26 is Interstellar by Christopher Nolan. I don't know if this is the first Nolan to appear on here. I will say I only included four Nolans in my ranking. I could have included easily eight, but like I said, I just didn't want to have too much. But this film makes me cry every time. As Jathan talked about earlier, we just did like a whole Nolan kind of breakdown in our Odyssey video, so I really went in depth about how much this film means to me. I'm not going to talk about it too much here, but yeah, I love Interstellar, and it's one of the reasons why I'm into films today. It's a really special film to me.
25, I have La La Land, and just I really think this film was ahead of its time too. It depicts LA as like so magical, and this place that you need to travel to, and I think it's definitely lost a little bit of its luster over the years, and it's a place that, you know, people love to travel to, but doing that and living there and pursuing your dream is like it's a whole other beast. So I think this is it's clear how much Chazelle poured into this movie and just for how long he wanted to tell it. I think it's brilliant.
My number 25 is Oppenheimer, which kind of in my Nolan rankings, I have it slightly above Interstellar. I have this as 3, Interstellar as 4 for my Nolans. This 2023 summer was really the summer that I completely dove into films and, you know, started watching a movie every single day, downloading Letterboxd, and obviously Nolan being my favorite director for a long time. I was highly anticipating this. It won 7 Academy Awards. Didn't disappoint. And kind of like me and Jathan were saying on our Nolan Odyssey video we did a few weeks ago, even rewatching this at home, it just gets richer and richer and richer every time. I love Oppenheimer.
24, I have Apocalypse Now. Just a wild ride. I really didn't know what I was getting into, but it's one of those films that Letterboxd put me onto. And I really do think I need to rewatch this because even then, when I first watched it, I wasn't picking up on everything. But in terms of filmmaking and just art of the craft, like you said, Ford Coppola was just one of them ones. And even though I bet not many people within this demographic have seen it, it's like all over the place on TikTok with that Saigon. We're still in Saigon sound, but
Yeah.
just brilliant.
Yeah, my number 24, The Batman. One of my most watched films in theaters ever. One of my most watched films, period. I will say I do remember when we were going into this, you were a little 50-50 on Mr. Pattinson playing the Batman, and now obviously you said he's your favorite Batman that we've gotten.
I was being a hater.
I mean, most people were, which is totally fair because most people only really knew him from Twilight. But I think this isn't my favorite Batman film, but he is my favorite Batman. I can't wait for part two. This film could not have come out at a more important and better time in my life as we were kind of wrapping up senior year. But I was having a really kind of bad mental state towards the end of our senior year, so this film really like took my mind off a lot of things. I constantly rewatch it. Batman is my favorite fictional character of all time. Matt Reeves, my faith is in you. Unfortunately, I don't know why it's taken so long for the sequel, but like I said, I trust him. He knocked this out the park, so like I said, I love this film so much.
Number 23, I have Cinema Paradiso, and it's been nearly 1 year since we both first watched this and reviewed it on the podcast, and it's one that has been in my mental space ever since, and I don't really think it's ever going to go away anytime soon. And I just think that with this film, it really solidified, and like Italians know how to make some movies.
My number 23, Monsters Inc., as you can see on my shirt now as well. I've always loved Pixar, I've always loved Disney. Mike and Sully have been characters that I've been in love with since I first watched this. I still have the VHS copy of this. I do have it on Blu-ray, but I still have the VHS copy of it that my grandmother gave me when I was a child that we would used to play at her house. I can't wait for this to be like a new theme world in Disney World that they're currently building right now. I think Monsters Inc. is really one of the best films ever made, and I just love the story. Like the monsters, as a kid, everybody thinks like there's a monster under the bed, there's a monster in the closet, but yes, they're scary, but they make the energy. So the whole idea of it, Pixar. I mean, there's still some good Pixars nowadays, but they were really in their bag for storytelling back in the early 2000s. And I love Monsters Inc. I'm about to turn 23 years old. I watch this film every year. I do not care. I have the freaking shirt on. I love Monsters Inc.
Number 22, I have Seven. Just one of those atmospheric films that completely blew me over, and one of my favorite in theater experiences going to see this with you at the Cinemark. And it's funny because that theater, like there wasn't like feeling like everyone is here, like this is packed, like this is one of
Yeah.
those ones. It was like maybe at most 10 people in that audience.
Oh, it was more
And
than that. There was like 30 in a seater of like 200, but it was definitely not packed.
that's how it felt anyway.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it
yeah.
was a rainy day, and it just completely sold me on this movie. It's wonderful.
Yeah, my number 22 is Toy Story 2, another Pixar film, slightly above Monsters Inc. Another one I grew up with a lot. Buzz and Woody, some of my favorite characters ever. I think it is my favorite Toy Story. I mean, number 3 is very close. Number 1 is very close as well. But yeah, I had to put this on here. Like I said, I'm a young man now, but I still watch this film every single year, without doubt. I still have my VHS copy of it. It means so much to me. And this is lifetime count. This is easily one of my most watched films. I mean, I gotta be in the 50s for Toy Story 2. It's amazing to me.
Number 21, I have City of God. This is the highest live action foreign film I have on the list. Just, it really blew my mind and changed what I think screenwriting could do and be depicted on screen. Just, it's insane to me just thinking back on it. And it's one of those stories looking at the human condition, being stuck in these countries where you're denied your freedoms that we have over here in the U.S. And it's something that it looks like it was shot in the 70s or 60s, but it was made within the last 25 years. So terrific film.
Number 21, actually my favorite number, my football number, and it happens to coincide my favorite James Bond film, Skyfall. This film just means a whole lot to me. I watched this film a couple days before my senior year playoff game. We ended up losing this game. It was really unfortunate, but Skyfall, it's really about a film about James Bond building himself back up from, being at rock bottom. So it very much kind of coincided with my life at the time. Losing that playoff game sucked, but we kind of had to build ourselves back up for the Thanksgiving game in a couple weeks. So I love Skyfall. I love James Bond. I think the character is amazing. Like I said, this is my favorite out of the whole, 30 film franchise of it. And yeah, I can't say enough good things about Skyfall. If you haven't seen it for some reason, go watch it.
Number 20, I have Goodfellas. Just it changed, and at the time it became my favorite genre of films, the mob films, and I just think the actors here just go above and beyond what they're asked for. I think it is Scorsese's best, in my opinion, and it's a classic.
Number 20, we're in the big 20. This is definitely where it was getting hard to decipher where things should go, but it is Sinners for me. Like I said, I tried not to do films that have recently come out, but I could not have Sinners on here. This is my most watched film in theaters. I've seen it 10 times in the theater. I'm about to beat it with The Odyssey in a couple weeks, but Sinners to me, man, I was nervous going into this film because if people remember, this film got delayed about 6 months, and normally when that happens, it's either like reshoots or it's not testing as good. That's like normally the one or two main reason. Um, so it made me nervous, and I knew that there was going to be a lot of genres in this, but Ryan Coogler did it to perfection. He shot on IMAX and he shot on Panavision 70 millimeter projection as well, and I love the aspect ratio changes. Obviously, Michael B. Jordan won the Oscar for this. I love the cast. The ensemble here is truly spectacular. Um, I cannot believe how good this film is, and I've seen it maybe like 12 to 14 times now. It's gonna be a film I watch multiple times a year for the rest of my life. Like I said, I love vampires, vampires with the Jim Crow era, and this great music film. Ludwig Göransson, my favorite film composer of all time, did the score for this as well. He won the Oscar for this. It's just everything came together so well in this. I just can't believe how amazing it is. Obviously, we already have talked about this film multiple times over the last year, but yeah, it cracked my top 20. And yeah, I love Sinners. I'm not ashamed to say it.
Number 19, Rear Window. Probably the best screenplay I've ever seen on screen. Mentioned this previously on the Dynamic Duos draft. Just they have such unbelievable chemistry together. It's so captivating. I've never been more locked in for an older movie just when I watched that in your basement.
My number 19, No Country for Old Men. This was my freshman year of high school. I asked for this for Christmas. This was like the first time I was asking for movies for Christmas. I just knew that this was a very popular, highly acclaimed film, and this is one I don't rewatch as much as I used to, but I think it's one of the best ever. Coen Brothers, obviously, Jathan, you're really big fan of them. You've already mentioned them a few times already on this list, but another film where this made me fall in love with acting, and I think Javier Bardem as Anton Chigurh is probably my second favorite performance of all time. Tommy Lee Jones is amazing in this too. He has a great monologue to end off the film. Josh Brolin's really great. He's kind of the protagonist in this film. I love it. I have it on 4K, actually, Criterion. They came out with that about a year ago, so my next rewatch will be on that. Like I said, I don't rewatch it as much as I should, but I'm definitely going to soon because this is a filmmaking masterpiece. And Coen Brothers are always great writers, but I think this is their best written film as well.
Yeah, I just want to correct myself. Rear Window is my favorite Hitchcock, not Vertigo.
Oh, yeah.
Number 18, Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair. Just wow, I was absolutely locked in when I was able to watch this for the first time in theaters. I had obviously seen Volume 1 and 2 before, but just 4 hours of just absolute nonsense. I couldn't believe it when I first watched one and two together, and then this was just one of my favorite in theater experiences. Who knew like something as simple as the title Kill Bill could like be so interesting?
Yep, my number 18 is Training Day. This is my favorite Denzel Washington performance, and I honestly think this would have easily been in my top 30 to 20 for sure. I think on my rewatch that I did a couple weeks ago really made me realize how much I love it. Another film that I watched in high school for the first time, really informative for me. Denzel in this is so amazing, and what is so amazing about it is a lot of what he does is completely improvised. And that's not to like downgrade the writer of this film in anything, but I just don't think the character would have been as good if Denzel didn't play him and improvise with all the stuff. He's a cop. He's a real LA cop, but he is such. Have you seen Training Day?
I've seen half of it.
He is the lowest of the low. He is a total scumbag. I think he's worse than the criminals in this film, and you just see it play out. And Ethan Hawke holds his own. Obviously, at this point, Ethan Hawke had done films when he was a kid. He had done at this point Before Sunrise with Richard Linklater, which is a great film. But this really put Ethan Hawke on the main stage, and going against Denzel is amazing. And I think Ethan Hawke. I don't know if he was nominated for supporting, but he should have been. I love Training Day.
17 Whiplash. We've talked about this a ton. Um, just absolutely crazy what happens when you decide to push someone who's young and impressionable to their absolute limit, and it's a one of the most interesting relationship dynamics I've ever seen.
Yeah, my number 17, sorry, is The Green Mile, um, which I don't think I've ever mentioned on the podcast. I really don't think I have, and I don't revisit it as much as I should. But this is a film that I got once again in high school, freshman year of high school, that really transformed me. I have always been a Tom Hanks fan, so he was my main pull to this film. But it is really emotional. Another film that makes me cry. I have not seen it in about 5 years, so it's been a long time. I'm long overdue. I plan on rewatching it very soon. It's really emotional. The same director, Frank Darabont, who did The Shawshank Redemption, which I think Shawshank is 5 out of 5 perfect for me too. But The Green Mile, I prefer a little bit more. It's another film that I love films that make you feel something, and I don't see how you can watch this and have a dry eye. It's really emotional. It's a really long film, I will say that, but it's amazing, and it's once again like kind of No Country for Old Men. It's really informative into the kind of film watcher I am today, so it means a lot to me.
Well said. Number 16, I have The Florida Project, another movie that just absolutely destroyed me to my soul. And it really brought me back to when I was younger and I kind of hung out with a lot of kids from families who just absolutely did not give a shit about what was going on. And it was just very eye opening to me when they kind of go through these households. It really brought me back to when I would hang out like for one summer day and just like see what their lives were like. It's just I love the story Sean Baker tells. I think he really does have an eye for the human experience and what that's like.
Yeah, my number 16, and I'm surprised it's this high because a few years ago I thought movie was garbage, but The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I love slasher movies. It's my favorite horror subgenre. Um, and like I've said, I didn't grow up with horror films. They're very recent to me. In the last 3 years, I was always scared of them. But I think this film is one of the best made independent films of all time. I really recommend people, if you do like this movie, go watch the documentary. I think it's literally just called like The Making of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's very simple. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube as well. They had no money to make this, like literally no money. This film takes place in Texas. They shot this in Texas in the hot summertime. The house that the main events take place at, they said temperatures would reach like 120 degrees in that house. They had like obviously like no AC. The fans were shit. It smelled awful. Like in all my reviews of this film on Letterboxd, you can see me say like, you can smell this film. Like you can literally smell it through the screen. That's how it feels. I think it is a staple in the horror genre. If you haven't seen this, please watch it. And funny enough, kind of like how I was saying with Terminator, I'm seeing this in 2 weeks, re-released in theaters. I've actually seen it in theaters before, so this will be my second time in theaters. But I love this film so much. And this, like I said, this film a couple of years ago I had at a 3 star. Now it's 5 out of 5 for me, and probably in my top three horror films ever made. I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Number 15, I have American Psycho, just one of my absolute favorite performances of all time from Christian Bale here. And funny enough, when I first watched this, I really didn't care for the ending. It kind of, I didn't like how instantly the movie just kind of ends, but now looking back upon it, it's like easily one of the best written endings of all time. Go see this if you haven't.
And number 15 for me is The Incredibles. There is another superhero film on this list that's a little bit higher, but I love The Incredibles. My highest rated Pixar. I think The Incredibles is a film that I've been watching since I was a kid, which I always liked it as a kid, but I didn't, I wasn't obsessed with it, maybe like the Toy Stories or Cars or Monsters Inc. But now I love it. I've seen it on theaters. I've seen it in theaters on a re-release. Um, and I constantly rewatch it. I watch it 1 to 2 times a year. I love the Incredible family. The family dynamics are awesome. I mean, there's not enough. I can't sit here all day and talk about it. I could talk about this forever. I think obviously Frozone's great. Syndrome, I love him as a villain. He's really funny. It's just incredible, and I love. It's kind of like the Fantastic Four, how that family has like all different. They're not all related in that family, but they all have different powers, and a lot of similar powers are in this film. But I think I take the Incredibles family over the Fantastic Four family, and I really love the Fantastic Four. But Incredibles to me, favorite Pixar, favorite Disney film, as it stands today.
Number 14, I have The Lighthouse. Robert Eggers, just absolute masterpiece that he put together here in terms of filmmaking and story and building suspense and creating this like almost twitchy movie that you don't want to pry into, but it's amazing.
Yeah, my number 14, the first Harry Potter on the list is Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. This is my favorite book out of the franchise, which the book goes much more in depth than the film does. They had to cut a lot out because that book is massive. But funny enough, this is actually the first Harry Potter film I ever watched. I only watched like 20 minutes of it. As a kid, I was like 8 years old. Um, it's in the scene where something happens to Ron. It's like the 20 minutes that happens. But it's one of my favorite. I think Daniel Radcliffe is magnificent in this. Alan Rickman's great. It's just really, really great. It's a really dark Harry Potter film. Like it's literally, there's some sequences that go to like black and white as well. It's really one of the best looking. I love it. I watch the Harry Potters at least all of them once a year. This is the one that I rewatch kind of the most. You'll see another one on the list very shortly. But yeah, I've talked Harry Potter a little bit on the podcast before, but Harry Potter, literally, without it, who knows if I'm here today? And I don't want to sound extreme. I don't want to sound like it's scary, but it's the truth. I discovered Harry Potter about a month before my grandmother passed away, in fifth grade when I was 11 years old. I had never dealt with somebody dying in my family like that before. My grandmother was pretty much my best friend. And she, yeah, just a lot. I don't want to get emotional, but yeah, she introduced me to like a lot of books, movies, and she always really like rejuvenated my creativity. I think I say it a lot on here, but I'm not that much of a creative person, and I think when she passed away, a lot of that side of me kind of went with her. But I was, like I said, I was discovering the Harry Potter movies and books about a month before she passed away. So as I was working my way through the books and the movies, it really took my mind off kind of what happened in my family's life. So I owe a lot to Harry Potter, but not only my emotional attachment with with the series, I think this film was excellent, and that's why it is so high, because it is a great film as well.
Number 13, I have The Godfather. Just one of those movies that everyone hears about, and you kind of sneer because it has been talked about so much, but it's for a good reason. Probably one of the most stacked casts I've ever seen. There's so many different scenes you can pick apart from here, but the one that immediately comes to mind is when they take revenge on all those families at the end of the movie. And hands down, I think a top five film scene of all time for me is Marlon Brando at the very end when he is in that garden. Just wow, like I was speechless.
My number 13 is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, which very recently I kind of bumped it above Half Blood Prince as my favorite Harry Potter. Alfonso Cuarón did this film, which he's like a true film director, so you can see his style printed all over this film. But this one is really where Harry Potter turned to a dark franchise. The first two ones are a little bit more lighthearted. Yes, there's some dark elements to them, but this one was like full fledged, some horror scenes. When I watched it as a kid the first time, I was very excited to watch it because I loved the book, but it definitely spooked me when I was about 11 years old a little bit, but I love it. Gary Oldman is in this film as Sirius Black. Gary Oldman's one of my favorite actors of all time, so he's excellent. He has a great scene in this. I'm not gonna. You haven't seen them yet. You gotta fucking watch them. We gotta talk about them. But there's a great scene he has in this, and I love Harry Potter. I just yapped about how much it means to me, but yeah.
Number 12, I have The Thing, just one of those textbook movies that like you hear about all the time, again like The Godfather, but you don't really realize and appreciate how good it is until you're just sitting there watching it unfold in front of you. I know this is one of your favorite movies, Nick, so I'll let you kind of pass the torch on for that, but again, just absolutely insane movie.
Yep, my number 12 is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Um, I first watched this kind of when I downloaded Letterboxd 3 years ago. This movie obviously didn't come out in the 60s, but this is a 60s film. I think it's Tarantino's best film ever. This film in particular is fueling my Los Angeles vacation that I have in October. I'm visiting a lot of the theaters that they mentioned in this. I'm going to the Musso and Frank's restaurant that Cliff Booth and Rick Dalton go to at the beginning of the film. This is my favorite Leo performance. It's one of my favorite Brad Pitt performances. Margot Robbie's great. I rewatch it constantly. I plan on rewatching it again in a couple weeks. I've seen it, I'm pretty sure, like 12 times in the last 3 years. I think it's a perfect film in every sense of the word. Once again, this came out in 2019. I think 2019 is arguably the best year in cinema history, just with all the films that came out. But that's a topic for another day. I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's hard to keep this out of the top 10, but as I'll mention when we get to the top 10, that top 10 is very hard for me to move around.
Yeah, just missing the top 10 for me. At number 11 is 2001: A Space Odyssey. I just don't think I have the emotional connection with it as much as the next 10 films, but it's one of a kind. It honestly doesn't really feel like watching a movie, in my opinion. I think that it just explores concepts that are so primal, but at the same time so abstract when it comes to humanity and self discovery that I don't know. It's one of those things that people talk about for hours upon hours upon hours. It's a must watch no matter what level of film connoisseur you are at, I think.
My number 11 is Bram Stoker's Dracula, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. About 2 months ago, this was actually in my top 10. I did have to slightly bump it out for another Coppola film that we'll get to in a little bit, but as I've already mentioned before, I love vampires. This is my favorite vampire film of all time. Gary Oldman, I just said he's one of my favorite actors. This is my favorite performance from him. Winona Ryder, she's amazing. Anthony Hopkins is hilarious unless you have a great supporting cast. The story of Dracula is as old as time. Like I said, I do think this is the my favorite rendition of the Dracula story. Um, I rewatch it constantly. I think I've seen this film 10 times in the last 3 years, so it's always on repeat. Um, I think it's such a, you know, sounds weird to say, but it's such a sexy, like beautiful film. It's just it's really, it's tragic but romantic. Really great score, great visuals. Yeah, Coppola. This film kind of, I'm pretty sure it didn't do well at the box office. Kind of failed, but I think it's one of the. Obviously, it's my number 11. I think it's one of the best films ever. All right, now into the big top 10. This was, I know this was probably tough for you. I've had my 10 picked out for a while, so it was easy for me. But let's go.
This is beyond difficult, and I'm sure you were kind of surprised when you saw this movie pop up. Number 10, I have The Sound of Music, and I think back upon my childhood and watching this all the time. I think this is definitely like my Mary Poppins in the sense that it really opened up my imagination, creativity for the world, and despite anyone trying to stop that, whether that's like a cloudy day, a nagging parent, just anyone in your way, I don't think that the spirit of creativity and joy that Julie Andrews portrayed here is just it's it's indescribable. At one point in time, it was my favorite acting performance from an actor, just because of it exceeds the medium in my opinion and what Julie Andrews accomplished here.
Yeah, my number 10 is Michael Mann's Manhunter. I've mentioned this before. Obviously, Jathan just mentioned probably Michael Mann's most popular films in Heat and Thief, but I love Manhunter. Detective films, I've already said a million times, they're my favorite subgenre. Um, Tom Noonan as Francis Dollarhide, I think is fantastic. William Peterson is awesome in this film. I love what he did with the character with Will Graham. I love the book. The book is titled Red Dragon. That's one of my favorite books of all time. But this film is really special to me. I've watched it so much in the last couple of years, so much. I have a complete yapology review of Manhunter pinned to my letterbox right now. It's the longest review I've ever written for a film. I just like sunk my teeth in, which is typing away on my computer for like an hour doing that. This film means so much to me, and on Tuesday night I'm seeing it in the 4K new restoration extended cut. Um, Really, I mean, that's awesome. I can't believe just how popular this film has gotten over the last couple of years. I think Letterbox has really helped it. I love Manhunter.
Number 9, I have Mulholland Drive, and this movie just kind of took its own life for at least a week or two within my mind after I first watched it. I just really I didn't know what I was in for. Always heard about David Lynch, but I never fully immersed myself within what he's done. And then I have this rated higher than Lost Highway. Um, I don't think that Lost Highway and Mulholland Drive, like, one is clearly better than the other, but I have this ranked so high just from the absolute shock factor that I experienced while watching this. It's a film that I think about almost every day since then, and I love his style of filmmaking, just giving you just enough detail for you to be able to hang on and survive, and it's powerful.
My number 9 is Apocalypse Now by Francis Ford Coppola. This is a film I only watched for the first time a few years ago. I always wanted to watch it for whatever reason I didn't. I'm not a huge war film guy. I think it's a great subgenre. I think there's a lot of great ones out there. They're just not some of my favorites. But I do think the Vietnam War has always been a war that really interests me because it's tough for me to say this because I don't want to sound what's the word I'm looking for? Like disrespectful to anybody that served in this war. Like my grandfather served in this war, but it kind of is labeled as like the unnecessary war. Like there wasn't like it's not like it wasn't like the world wars where you're trying to stop this like evil force of the Nazis and all that. Like there was a lot of innocent blood spilled in this war. And I think what Apocalypse Now accomplishes so well, it feels like they're really, I mean, they did really film this like in the jungles and everything, but you feel just the complete chaos. Like it's just nobody's in charge. People are just killing. It's just like it's just awful. But I think Coppola did such a great job filming this. Like Martin Sheen had a heart attack when he filmed this. Like it was chaotic. They shot this film for like 2 years or something like that. It was nuts. It was ridiculous. They went way over budget. Coppola was pulling money out of his own pockets to keep funding this fucking thing. I think it's phenomenal. Marlon Brando is my favorite Brando performance. He's just as Colonel Kurtz. It's ridiculous. And there's so many quotes in this. Like Jathan was already talking about the Saigon thing. You hear that all over TikTok nowadays, but my favorite quote, and I honestly didn't even pick it up till my latest rewatch a couple weeks ago, but it's I'm gonna read it real quick. It says, "Shit, charging a man with murder in this place was like handing out speeding tickets at the Indy 500. Like, like nobody got in trouble. Like, just it was just chaos. It's like it's just ridiculous. I think in terms of filmmaking, it's one of the greatest achievements in filmmaking history, for sure. And I love this film. And another thing I want to mention, I know I'm yapping. There's so many different versions of this film to watch. You can watch like the theatrical cut. You can watch the Redux, which is like a full 3.5 to almost 4 hours cut of it, and then the final cut, which I do think the final cut is like the best version to watch. But I've seen them all. I've seen every version of it. Sorry. And I really love Apocalypse Now. I constantly rewatch it. All right, number 8. Sorry, I just kind of revealed it, but number 8.
No worries. Number 8, I have Grave of the Fireflies, and again with the virtues that we're able to have in today's life, just sitting here having a film podcast and not having to worry about anything that these characters have to go through is just such a blessing. And I could only imagine being in this boy's shoes, being barely like 14 years old. Like I remember me at 14. Like I was not nearly strong-willed enough as this guy here, but this is the highest animated film I have on the list, and it's just Ghibli films. Like they speak to a lot of people spiritually, and that's for good reason. Like you can look at every single frame of this film and their films, and just it could be its own art piece. It's just they're so well crafted. It's insane.
My number 8 is The Shining. Funny enough, the first time I watched this in full was the flight back home from when I visited Jathan in San Diego a few years ago. And I was on the plane. It was both my flights to San Diego and from San Diego. The plane was pretty empty. Like it wasn't that full. So I was spooked. I watched this on Halloween night too. That's when I flew back home, and since then I've seen it multiple times. I saw it on the IMAX re-release last year, which was excellent. It's my favorite Jack Nicholson performance. It's my favorite Stanley Kubrick, but what makes me love the film so much is Shelley Duvall. I think she's so excellent in this. And if you've seen any of the behind the scenes, as much as I love Kubrick, I think his directing style is very intense, and I think what he put Shelley Duvall through in this film was it's upsetting to watch. I mean, there wasn't like any like physical abuse he did to her, but the mental abuse I feel like he put her through this film was very rough, and I get it. Her character is supposed to go through a lot of awful things, but that's my one little kind of asterisk with the film that bothers me, but it's still a great film. Like I said, I rewatch it all the time. I think even the kid Danny Lloyd does a phenomenal job. Yeah, I love The Shining. I mean, most people have seen it, and I know Yeah, I just love it.
Number 7, I have The Matrix. I'd be remiss to not add this to my top 10 just for what it did for me in my early teenagehood. Just one of those films that I had seen all the time on YouTube as a kid, just people reposting clips and stuff. It was such an era to be a part of, like that early internet stuff. So many wonderful quotes here from characters like Morpheus, Neo, of course. I love those black leather jackets that they wear. It's the most badass thing I've ever seen, and the stuff that they do. It's so, what's the word I'm looking for? It's so self aware, but at the same time, it's just so cool. I love this thing. It's a boy movie for sure.
Yeah, my number 7 is The Thing, which I will say when I like I said I did have to look at your rankings before, Jathan. I was surprised how high you had it, which I love. I love The Thing. Um, it's my favorite horror film of all time. John Carpenter is one of my favorite directors of all time. I've seen this multiple times in theaters at this point. I watch it at home all the time. Anytime it snows here in New England, I'm throwing this on because these men are stuck and sheltered in. I think it's so revolutionary. Obviously, the film, The Thing from Another World or Another Planet, I forget the title. This is kind of a remake of that, but it's very different. If you've seen that, they're not that similar. But obviously, this is kind of a remake, so it's not a true original script, not a true original story. But I love it. I love Kurt Russell. He's one of my favorite actors ever, and I just think he's so badass in this. But my number one reason why I love it so much is just the practical filmmaking. I love the kind of alien horror monster that takes the shape of people, and when he does have that like alienness to him, it's amazing. People speculate the ending of this so much, which I think is really fun. I can't turn my camera right now without completely unplugging everything, but I have a Thing poster in my room, and I only discovered this film for the first time little over 3 years ago, and it's already at my number 7. I've seen it multiple times. I love it. I try to rewatch it obviously every horror season. Like I said, in the winter season when it snows, but this movie's kind of turned into like a year round thing for me. I love it.
Number 6, I have Oppenheimer. Um, God, like that. Everyone's heard of like the 1,000 yard stare. I wouldn't sit here and act like I'm nearly as smart as Dr. Oppenheimer because not even half, like I'd say 90% of the thoughts that go on in my head are just complete bullshit. But I've probably never experienced something so intimate and just like it really spoke to me, that last scene with him just staring off into the distance. Like I've never felt that before.
Yeah, my number 6 is The Social Network. You'll see another David Fincher film coming up very shortly, but I actually first watched this in middle school. I remember it was on Netflix for a long time, and I threw it on, and I had no idea what it was about. I didn't know it was really about Facebook. I didn't know it was about Mark Zuckerberg, and I just remember being so blown away because this is technically like a biopic. Obviously, there's a lot of like falseness in it and a lot of exaggerated things. Um, but I've never seen a film structured like this, and just the pacing and the way it's shot. Like I had never seen anything like that before. Now it's one of my most watched films of all time. I think on Letterboxd I've seen it like close to 20 times, but that's only in the past 3 years. It's not accounting since I started watching it in middle school. I always rewatch it at the start of the fall semester when I go back into school, and this fall semester is my last semester in school, so it'll be a little bit emotional when I rewatch it in a couple weeks in September. But I love The Social Network. I am not excited for The Social Reckoning. Will I be there? Absolutely, but I wish it wasn't happening. I love Jesse Eisenberg. I love Justin Timberlake was one of my favorite musical artists growing up. I love him in this. Andrew Garfield, amazing. Yeah, I love this film.
Number 5, top 5, I have Back to the Future. Um, I'm thinking back on it now, and I just remember thinking how cool Marty McFly was. Like This dude's last name is literally McFly. Like, but it's just it's literally a perfect movie. I can't explain it enough. Like when I think of movies, like I think of stuff that could be portrayed in reality, and there's a lot of emotions, feelings that Marty goes through here that like I deeply relate to, like wanting to fix his family, home life, and everything. But I, it's just like fictional enough that it's like able to make me escape from reality a little bit, and it's a perfect movie in every sense of the word.
Yeah, my number five is Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. It's my favorite action film of all time. Another one of my childhood that meant so much to me. I did not watch the first Transformers in theaters as a kid, but I did watch this one when this was coming out. My brother had a whole Revenge of the Fallen birthday party theme. This film came out a day before his birthday. I remember in 2009. It just means so much to me. This is another film that when I'm kind of feeling unmotivated and a little down, just like need to pick me up. This motivates me. It picks me up. I think it's so funny. The script, when people say the script sucks, I get it. It does, but it works for me. It makes me laugh. I love Optimus Prime. I remember being in the theater, and I was really young. I was like, I don't even know if I was technically 6 years old yet when I saw this, but when he dies in the film, my heart hit my ass. I did not expect that to happen. I'm pretty sure I cried. I love Optimus Prime. I love this Transformers franchise. Like I said with the first one, if this film was never made, I'm probably not talking about movies on a podcast. Just because this thing just kind of completely transformed, lack of a better term, transformed my world into understanding, the world of cinema.
Number four, I have Before Sunset, and I always tell people that my favorite movies are just movies of like two characters just having a conversation. This is what I mean. It just absolutely blew me away when I first watched this in my screenwriting class. How captivating it really can be. Just the simplicity of two characters walking and talking. I never thought that would like reach me and like reach my soul in such a way, and I just can this soul like this movie, it it speaks so much about romance to a lot of people, and it's an interesting point in this trilogy because they have gone years without seeing each other, and I'm sure everyone has had that thought in their mind, like, what would I say to this person if I saw them? And, some people, they might just be frozen. They might not be able to say anything, but there's certain people out there that, like, once you start talking to them, it's like everything else goes away. And I've never seen a movie that portrayed it like this. And I wouldn't say that I'm a Grinch now or anything when it comes to love, but I've definitely have gone through enough heartbreak to the point where I'm kind of shielded around certain individuals and how much I let myself out to other people. I know that's not a good thing, but it's a movie that I think back upon, and I've realized how important it is to have those relationships with people because I really buy into Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy here, and these two people who are literally like made for each other.
Yeah, well said. My number four is Fantastic Mr. Fox. I've talked about it a lot. Jathan already talked about it. I love stop motion. It's my favorite Wes Anderson. I remember when I'm pretty sure it was Disney Channel used to play this film back in the day when they would like sometimes license films that weren't Disney films. I remember my mom always thinking that this film was so creepy with like the stop motion and the characters, and it kind of is in a sense, but it makes me laugh like no other. Like I laugh out loud every single time. I just recently watched this film not in a theater, so I'm still waiting and looking for my tickets for that one day. But I saw it in the outdoor screening in Cambridge, and it was awesome. I really thought that it would be, since it was outdoors, like people would be talking and not really paying attention, and kind of a lot of chaos. There was probably 200 to 250 people there, dialed in, completely dialed in. Outside, there was kids that were like 2 years old to grandparents there, and everybody was locked in. This film was nearly 20 years old, and it still has that kind of, love and capability. I've seen it so many times. Like I said, we've talked about it a lot. It just means a whole lot to me. I really relate to some of the characters in here. I love the voice acting. I think this is George Clooney's best performance, and I say performance because the way they voice recorded this is he did like all the movements. When they were like on the motorcycles and running around and eating, like Wes Anderson wasn't like sticking these people in recording booths and making them record that way. Like he wanted them to act it out and pick up the audio that way. That's why it feels so personal and real. Um, this film means so much to me. It will never, ever, ever, ever be outside of my top 10 for as long as I live. There's just no way. I adore this thing.
Number three, I have The Shining. Just one of the movies that like it has its own story. Just looking at the story behind the production of it, and Stanley Kubrick, I don't think is gonna win any Nobel Peace Prizes for being an amazing human being, but he definitely knows how to make a movie, and it's a deeply spiritual film, in my opinion, and just how you let these emotions take over you. I wouldn't even say it is an emotion. It's something deeper than an emotion, in my opinion. Just this, you get so many clues as to what kind of character Jack Nicholson's character is in this, in the sense that you're given just enough detail to assume that, like, Shelley Duvall's character, Wendy, wasn't his like first choice in what he wanted in a partner. And Danny, like, while he loves him, there's a side of him that like resents him deeply. And it's a very powerful story, and it's one that I took the time to read the book, and I've told Nick this, but it's just one of those stories that I think exceeded the original adaptation by a long mile.
When did you read the book?
I've told you this story. I did a project in 8th grade. I read the book and then I did a report on it. And then I watched the movie afterward because I had never seen the movie.
I don't remember that. But yeah, number three, I have Seven, which Jathan already mentioned before. But I will never forget the first time I watched this film. I always knew this was like a really beloved film and people really liked it. I think this is the first Brad Pitt I ever watched. Not the first Morgan Freeman, because I had seen like Shawshank and obviously like The Dark Knights and stuff like that. But um, I mean, everybody kind of knows, but that ending, I didn't know that was the ending when I first watched it. Like it wasn't spoiled for me, so I just once again, like my heart just hit my ass. I was like, oh like I've never ever at that point had seen a film that did it ending like that. I was just completely kind of just stuck in the moment after the film ended and the credits started to roll. And that was early high school days once again. But since then, I've seen the film close to 30 times. I can pretty much recite this film like the back of my hand. Like I really know the screenplay. Um, Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt are some of my favorite actors ever. I don't think Gwyneth Paltrow gets enough love for how great her performance is in this. She doesn't have a lot of scenes, but she's really emotional. I love her scene at the diner with Morgan Freeman. Obviously, Kevin Spacey, in real life, not a great guy, a lot of weird, crazy stuff. But I mean, you can't deny his acting ability, and him as John Doe is phenomenal. He steals the third act of the film, obviously, and even when I rewatch this film, and I've seen it, like I said, almost 30 times, that ending reveal still gets me every time. Like I can feel like my stomach just like contracts. Like I just feel so sick. Um, It's beautifully acted, and a lot of thanks has to go to Brad Pitt because he put in his clause in his kind of acting that whatever the first script was, and once they started shooting, you couldn't make changes towards the end because they tried to like change and say, oh, the dog's head was in the box and not his wife and everything. And he was like, nope, nope, nope. He's like, we're not changing the script now. He's like, you either keep that or I'm not finishing the movie. So they obviously had to keep it, and thank God for that because it's one of the most impactful endings ever.
Number two, I have Good Will Hunting. I'm a kid who grew up just outside of Boston, and this is a story that speaks volumes to me. Um, I think I can't speak for everyone, but when I think about my own life and, you know, the happiness and problems that have come with it, I think that I've always kind of looked for that one-stop solution to all the problems in my life. And I think after watching this movie for the first time, like I came to the realization that like one, that doesn't exist, and two, that the greatest help you can pay to yourself is by loving yourself. And without getting too personal, like I just think that no matter what happens in life, like there's only going to be one person that truly understands you and who you are. Not to say that no one is capable of understanding you, but just to the depth and experiences that you've lived. I don't think there's anyone that can really be there for yourself other than you. So this was obviously a very deeply personal film for me, and one that I think back to every day. When people ask me what my favorite movie is, I tell them what it is, but then I also tell them it's this movie if I like really want to give the most honest, like sincere opinion. Not to say that my number one isn't my favorite, but it's just for two completely different reasons. So yeah, this is one that I hold very dear to my heart.
My number two is The Dark Knight, and I'm honestly not going to yap too much about my two and one because I did talk about them very recently. But yeah, I mean, like Jathan said earlier with The Dark Knight, what hasn't been said about it, it means so much to me. If I could label one movie that impacted me the most, and really, I mean, I've said it a lot with movies that have shaped me since I was a kid, but like The Dark Knight, just I remember the first time watching it, I was just blown away, completely blown away. I think it's spectacular. Christopher Nolan, man, I owe a lot to him. I'll probably never meet him. He'll probably never hear this, but yeah, his films just mean so much to me, and The Dark Knight is excellent. This film, once again, is another film that fills me with a lot of motivation and hope for when I need it. And here we are with number one. I think most people, if they know us, they probably know what our number ones are, but here they are.
I think we're due for a round of applause at this point, but
Yeah.
yeah, number one for me is Cars, and
You want me to? My number one is Tenet. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna yap about it too much. I did a huge yap in our Nolan thing about why it means so much to me, but yeah,
I'm grinning right now, just like this poster, just thinking about this movie. Like, I love this thing. It's funny, number 100, and it talked about how I've lost count of how many times I've seen Infinity War. This movie, I literally, if you if you put a bullet to my head and told me like how many times I've seen Cars, I'd be on the floor, blue in the face, because I just it took over my life. And that tuner scene, man, it people joke about it online, but that it's very real.
couple things I wanted to ask you was because I have a couple questions in mind. Kind of when I was making this, when I was looking at your list, like I said, I was trying not to pay too close attention, but there's two questions I have in mind. But was there anything on my list that either surprised you? You either were surprised that wasn't on here. You were surprised by some of the rankings of stuff. Was there anything you wanted to ask me about?
Um, I was just more so surprised by your stories and
Mm.
your personal stuff, especially regarding the Harry Potter stuff. I know you've kind of always been attached to that franchise, but I didn't know to what level.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I easily could have put every single one on here, but I just didn't want my whole list to be like 10% of Harry Potter. But yeah, those films, man, I just I can't. It's hard for me to even talk about without crying. But they mean so much to me. I love Harry Potter. Like I said, the story's really great, but then the emotional side of it, of what it did for me. Um, it's the only kind of film tattoo I have on my body as a Harry Potter tattoo. Um, I this is not related to the movies, but I remember going to the Universal Harry Potter land for the first time when I was 12 years old. I mean, man, I it was like I don't even know how to describe it. I was just completely overwhelmed, but in the best way possible. I remember I saved up my money for a whole year before we went on that trip. I had, like, I'm not joking, I was probably 12 years old. No, I was 12 years old, and my birthday money, Christmas money, chores around the house, trying to do stuff for my neighbors, for my grandparents. I probably saved up like $400 for like a 12-year-old. That's a lot of money. And I spent every dime of it at Harry Potter Land. Like, I bought some, like, because I was just, dude, that's everything I had been waiting for over 2 years. Um, and it was awesome. And my parents, they both of them always say that's probably their favorite memory of me as a kid. Just the smile on my face for the couple days we were at Universal, and I wouldn't leave that section of the park. Like, I barely even went on the other rides. Like, my parents literally had to like pull me onto the other stuff. But yeah, Harry Potter, man. I mean, means a lot. Um, the two things I wanted to ask you, while I was making this, that they didn't shock me that they were on the list because I expected them to be on them. The only thing that shocked me were the placements. First, I wanted to ask, and I can double check. You had Whiplash, if I'm not mistaken, at 17. I thought Whiplash was top 10 for sure. Maybe, and I know, the rankings can switch and all that. Why was Whiplash at 17, which is still high, but I thought that was top 10 easy.
It was just what spoke to me. The Florida Project, there was no chance it was going to be over that. There's just a lot of films and appreciation that I have over it. I just think it's going to have to come with time. I can see 1 through 20 shifting in ranking throughout my whole life. I wouldn't put a ton of effort over who is over what. They all kind of belong within that range for me. I would say on a good day, that Whiplash is probably a top 10 film for me, but that is just how I felt the day I was ranking it.
Yeah, and my other question was too. You're not as big of a rewatcher as I am. Like, I rewatch a lot. I would say you rewatch some stuff a lot, but not as much. Not as probably on the level I do. So the reason I thought Whiplash was probably going to be top 10 is because just the amount you've rewatched, especially in the last like 5 years. So this was my second question was, your number three was The Shining, which I expected it to be pretty high, but number three I thought was really high because I don't. When's the last time you even rewatched that? That's why I wasn't shocked to see it on your rankings. I was shocked to see it at number three though.
Mm-hmm. I've probably watched it at least once within the last 4 years, and I think that film just really grabbed control of me when I was in early high school, and I kind of almost, it felt like a badge of honor to me at that point because I'd ask people like, "Have you seen The Shining?" And like people our age, and they'd be like, "No." I'm like, "Okay, then you don't know jack shit." But um, yeah, it's it's more than a film to me, in my opinion. It's just very harrowing, and you can't really slap a label onto it and say it's one thing or the other. It's such a mixed bag, and I think that was like when I first watched it. That was like the point where I was like, okay, like Shawshank isn't my favorite movie anymore.
Yeah, that's it. I just looked at the recording of my recording. It's over 3 hours. So This episode,
Yeah,
yeah, this episode
I'm
might
gonna
be,
have fun.
yeah, it's a lot, but I think, for our anniversary, I wanted to do something that was big, and I knew that we could talk about a lot of movies and also kind of intertwine our kind of personal lives in it too. And I feel like it was great to do that. Yeah, this took a lot of time to think about our list, and then obviously, you can probably see the way we both look compared to the beginning of the episode. We're very tired, talked for 3 hours straight. But yeah, that's all we got. There's no game at the end. We don't get anything else. But anything you want to say for this episode 33 1 year anniversary before we close out?
Happy to be here. My brain is mush.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if you made it this far, give yourself an applause. Like that. That is tremendous. But we'll catch you in the next one.
Yep. Peace.